Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. And of course, first of all, as leader of Bradford, can I say welcome to Bradford? For those of you who already live in Bradford, I'm really happy that you're already here. But obviously, other people, welcome to the place. I'm delighted that Bradford's hosting the West Yorkshire Region's Innovate UK local event as part of this year's West Yorkshire Innovation Festival. Bradford is proud to be an established Innovate UK delivery partner, having delivered services as part of the Enterprise Europe network since 2008. There's many things happened since 2008, aren't they? And now operating as Innovate UK Edge. From 2015, we've provided the National Inquiry Gateway for the whole of Innovate UK Edge services, helping innovation-led businesses to grow and scale up in national and international markets. Now, Bradford Council-based Innovate UK Edge team handle approximately 2,500 SME inquiries every year. That's huge, isn't it, really? And the team will be hosting a workshop this afternoon where you can find out more about the services that are available through that programme. Now, Bradford District is founded on innovation and entrepreneurialism. We're famous for it. It's in our DNA. And innovations from Bradford's pioneering industrialists of the past were behind the transformational growth of Bradford City and the wider district that we see today. Growing a history of a city of global significance from a rural town in a few decades during the Industrial Revolution to a huge city that we see here today. And not just science and technology, but Bradford is also a social innovator. It was the first city to offer free school meals and was home to educational pioneers like Margaret Macmillan. And more recently, dare I say, it's the first city in the north to have a clean air zone. Now, right up to date, we are home to Born in Bradford. I'm not sure if Born in Bradford are here today, but they have been tremendous in showing us the way and the future that we need for a clean growth city and healthy population health. It's the largest longitudinal research study into population health in the world and is really pointing the way for social innovation. We have a strong life science university in Bradford University, who are great partners for our business community here. And local pioneering innovation is led by businesses such as Progimax, ESSC and the Advanced Digital Institute, world leaders in aeronautics, cybersecurity and digital health, respectively. We are globally connected as a city. 1 in 5 of our business owners have South Asian heritage, and that gives us a real global perspective and a post-Brexit Britain for making sure that we know how to trade, we know the opportunities out there, but we do need a government and a local government as well who believe and support businesses to flourish. And this event is all part of getting to that position where we can work together to create growth and innovation. We're very proud of our young, diverse, entrepreneurial city, a quarter of which is under 18. And our innovative approach to everything we do is reflected in the fact that we won City of Culture 2025. And we're absolutely delighted about that. So we're a globally connected district, and that is so important to us in that City of Culture delivery, which we're working hard on now. So these are difficult times we're living through, and I know that in difficult times, businesses have to innovate, whether they're supported by local and national government or not. And speaking to businesses in Bradford, I know that given skill shortages and rising energy costs, they are not waiting to be asked. They are getting on with it, and we must all be their champions because Bradford and UK PLC depends on them and their innovation for the future success of our economy. Now, I'm delighted today that we've got the Chief Executive of Innovate UK here, Indra Mukherjee, and it's been a pleasure to meet you and talk to you, and I'm so delighted that you've managed to join us this morning, and we'll be hearing from you later. But first of all, I'd like to give a warm Bradford welcome to our Mayor of West Yorkshire, Tracy Brabin. Come on up, Tracy.
So much. It's a real pleasure to be here. And I just want to endorse what Susan said about, you need to turn that off, about Bradford. It is such an amazing city, and I'm so pleased to be here in this extraordinary building. It's fantastic, isn't it? And I want to thank the hospitality crew who looked after us last night. It was a real Bradford warm welcome to the hotel, so thank you very much. And this is a really exciting week, Innovation Week, and this is the 4th day of our Innovation Festival. Thank you for all that you do, Susan, and thank you, can I say, to Indra Mukherjee and the wider Innovate UK team coming to West Yorkshire. We know that West Yorkshire is absolutely bursting with talent, with energy and with enthusiasm. We are creative, we are thoughtful, and as you've heard, we are pioneering. Our region has been at the forefront of innovation for centuries. 1790, West Yorkshire constructed the Salamanca, the world's first commercially successful steam train. 1888, the French inventor made the first ever moving film on Leeds Bridge. Now, loads of people around the world will not acknowledge that, but we absolutely were the pioneers in film in Leeds. In the 20th century, our region became a centre for health innovation, creating the first hip replacement and the world's first ever successful double hand amputation. And in Bradford in 2015, the first 3D barcode was developed, a creation that's leading the way in bringing an end to the counterfeit goods market. We've already given a great deal to the world, but I know the incredible talent we have in our region can bring so much more in the future. Our businesses and entrepreneurs continue to commercialise ideas that are making a mark here and across the world. But to ensure that they reach their potential, we've got to work together and we've got to renew our innovation culture, supporting those brilliant thinkers, creators, and business leaders to bring their imaginations to life. We do so much already to support our innovators, but we can do so much more. We need to bring together and simplify what we have, ensuring that that help is accessible to absolutely everyone. Now, as Susan says, we have a region that is rich in its diversity, but sadly, not everyone has equal access to contribute to and to benefit from and test their ideas, gain access to mentoring. We know how important that is, and support and help to secure investment. But securing investment is not always easy, and you will know, you're in the sector, you know how hard it is. Too often, those who are able to turn their ideas into successful businesses are those who've already got access to wealth. The support of family members. Now, we know that very few people have a spare 20 grand in their back pocket to use on a startup. And it was galling. I was at a round table of entrepreneurs yesterday, and it was really galling to hear that only 2 pence in every pound of venture capital goes to businesses run and led by women. We can do much better than that. We need to work together to lift these barriers and ensure everyone has an equitable chance in innovation, whether that's by giving them the intense business support or ensuring they have as much chance as anyone to secure that business finance. Because access to finance is what is limiting our diversity of innovators and creative businesses. And it's not just about getting more women into this space, because Cornerstone UK, a venture capital firm, whilst recently highlighting only 7% of venture capital funded entrepreneurs were women, only 3% were black. Only 7% invested in entrepreneurs who did not have a university education. Wow, we know there are so many ideas out there, and you don't have to go through a university progression to be an innovator. So I am going to address these imbalances and to ensure that everyone who's developing a product that has that high growth potential can secure finance to support their early stage business development, no matter what their background, where they live, how much they earn, what their parents did. This has to be open to everyone. Inclusive innovation can only be achieved, though, through collaboration. Everybody in this room has a role to play. By bringing people together from different cultures, professions, beliefs, and backgrounds, we can strengthen the potential for turning ideas into innovations that can make a massive difference to our region, to our nation, and yeah, let's be bold, to the world. By coming together, we can let loose a wave of innovation across our region. Imagine what that can do for our region when it comes to growth. Now more than ever, during a cost of living crisis, we need innovation to bring about our economic recovery and future resilience. Time and time again, innovation has shown us the way to navigate through turbulent times. After all, we're only here today in this room, sitting really closely together with no masks because of the work of Sarah Gilbert and Catherine Green, two pioneers who developed the breakthrough AstraZeneca vaccine for COVID-19 in record time. With little time to spare, a clearly defined mission and a will to find a way, they helped solve the biggest societal challenge we've ever faced for decades. Innovation will be needed more than ever to solve these societal challenges that threaten our future. And innovation is absolutely vital if we are going to be a net zero carbon economy. And it's vital if we're going to solve our productivity challenge that has limited our economic growth for far too long. And it's vital to combating future pandemics and health emergencies that risk only increasing as our planet warms. We need innovators, but innovators from across all of our communities. So as you all leave today, please do think about how you can help generate an innovation culture in West Yorkshire to make innovation available to everywhere and to everyone. Because I know together we can achieve our goals. So let's lead and let's innovate. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Tracy. And we've now got Indro Mukherjee, the CEO of Innovate UK.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. And of course, thank you to our fantastic team for the brilliant organisation that's had to be done to get all this together and get this impressive event to be arranged. So I'm really pleased to be here for two reasons. The first of which is that as an ex-business guy who's led the innovation journey in large organisations with thousands, but also small organisations with tens of people, I have a great respect for everything that all of you are doing, because I understand how challenging, exhilarating, exhausting, inspiring, everything the innovation journey can be. And I think it's for that reason that events like this are so powerful. And the second reason is that to do it here in West Yorkshire, for exactly the reasons that Mayor Braben just shared with us, is also very inspiring for us as an organisation. So we're very pleased that we can have this event here and very pleased that we can do this at this time. I'm going to use a couple of slides, but only as a signpost. Now, I am only a public servant since about 1.5 or so years. Up until that point, I have a long private sector career. So I chose very deliberately to come into the public sector and to do this job. Innovate UK is the UK's innovation agency, and we play a central role in the beating heart of UK innovation. And we use 3 in-words to describe what we do. We want to inspire the innovation journey, which is a really important one for all of you as businesses, for this region, but also for the UK as a whole. Because at this time, there has never been any greater reason to get on and innovate, because we need that to save our people, protect our people, educate our people, feed our people, entertain our people, allow our people to communicate. Every single part needs innovation. And so the work done here in this room by businesses that range from A to Z, and the work done across the UK by thousands and thousands and thousands of innovative businesses, is essential to build our future. The second in word is to involve. We can't do anything in isolation. Everything that we do has to be through partnership, through collaboration, through networks. Networks like this are extremely important. Connections, idea sharing, sharing journeys together. So Innovate UK spends a huge amount of effort in terms of bringing people together, collaborations, bringing networks together. And the third in word, of course, is invest. So we invest not just money, but also time and the resources of the brilliant people that we have across the organisation. Because through that investment, we want to create an impact. So we are very much impact focused. We are very much action and outcome focused. We operate across all areas and all sectors, and we support thousands and thousands and thousands of businesses. Many businesses of all kinds of different sizes, some that have barely even started, all the way through to businesses that have been on a journey, have got to some scale, and are now wanting to scale up into really big situations. We are, as I mentioned, of course, a public service. So as a public service, we use public money. And that's an important point that we should be very respectful of. Because as people who use public money, we need to use public money to make an impact for our nation. This is the reason why all of us are here. And so for all the businesses that we support, every now and then, for all the thousands and thousands and thousands that we support, every now and then, there are businesses that we can't support. And there are businesses that don't quite meet criteria because we have to be very rigid with the criteria that we adopt. And so what we want to do is to be as inclusive as possible with those and to be able to work with local partners, local regions and local actors to be able to see how we can then encourage those businesses and help them maybe to get to next stages where they may in future qualify. And this is something that we are working on quite extensively, and we'll have a collaboration here in West Yorkshire as well to see if there is a way that we can do something in collaboration with the West Yorkshire leaders in terms of how we can make a very strong ecosystem to support. I'm not intending that you should try to read this slide, but I wanted to try and give to you a feeling of all the different products and services that we have. And these range from the deployment of money through grants, loans, working with third-party investors, working with government bodies to try and pipeline businesses to be able to supply public authorities and so forth. Now, with regards to grants, there are many different kinds. Some are deeply thematic, some are quite general, some are time-bound. There are many, many different kinds. And so it's not my intention to go through this right now, but through our team, you can ask any questions, and we are always willing to share the full range of all the different things that we do and that we can offer. And maybe there's a solution to help you and your business. And maybe there's a solution to help the next innovative thing that you do. So please come talk to us, and we have many of our representatives here today. With regards to investor partnerships, I want to single that one out as well, because that is an area where we would work with professional third-party investors, VCs, angels, many different funds, and we will then help the business in their journey to raising capital and maybe go in collaboratively with third-party private VC organizations. On the right-hand side, there is a large extent of non-financial support. This is a massive thing for us. A lot of our people, a lot of our colleagues work in advisory to help businesses on their journey, to develop skills, to have answers to how you can scale and grow, and maybe advice to help seek investment from third parties. Maybe you want to export. Maybe you want to have international partnerships. We could help with that as well. Maybe you want to understand better opportunities across the public sector for your business and your innovation. And so Innovate UK can help across a very, very broad range of different products and services. And we do this directly, and we also do this in collaboration with many, many groups across the public sector. And so please talk to our people, please come find us, and we're always willing to talk, always willing to see if there's something that we can do that can help you and your business to grow and develop. We have a plan for action. This is a kind of statement of intent. If anybody wants to see it, it's online. You just have to Google Innovate UK Plan for Action. The booklet looks like that, and it's all there, and you could see it. And this includes 12 we will statements, which are our commitments to UK business in how we will work sincerely, passionately, and smartly to support UK business across different areas of the innovation support journey. And this is a very important facet of how we do this. And so if you have the time and have the interest, then you just Google Plan for Action, Innovate UK, and you can find this online. That plan for action is based on the 5 strategic themes that I mentioned above and the 6 strong foundations at the bottom. And so I'm just going to use this slide for a few minutes just to talk in more general terms about a few quite important themes to what we do and why we're doing it. The first strategic theme on the top left-hand side is the future economy. So the essence of what we do to support innovation is so that we can build an economy for the future, an economy that is sustainable, an economy that has good wages, good skilled jobs for people, and that shows the UK in a strong leadership position across the world. And this is very much why we need to invest in innovation, because it's really important to be able to build these sustainable, good quality, enduring jobs that we can have in the UK. And so we focus through many colleagues who are experts in different fields, which range from life sciences, including vaccines, medicines manufacturing, biosciences, all kinds of areas, diagnostics, the full range, all the way through to manufacturing, all the way through to many net zero areas, all the way through to digital, software, services, space, artificial intelligence. We have people across a very wide range of every single facet. And so I really want to recommend to you that if anyone's got a good, innovative idea, through our knowledge transfer network, through our Edge service, you can really get access to a lot of advice, a lot of help, and those people can then are backed up by a lot of experts who could help us all build the future economy. The second point I want to make is about growth at scale. Growth at scale is a really challenging thing. It's an exciting thing as well, but it's also a challenging thing. To get the capital to start off with, to then develop a product or a service, to get traction, to go and get a customer, to then get consistency, to build an order book, and to build a sustainable business, and then to get to the next stage where you need to raise further rounds, etc., etc. So as someone who has personal experience of this kind of area, I really respect that journey. And so we work very extensively with businesses, investors, and partners to help that journey, which we recognise is both exhilarating but also sometimes challenging and demanding. So we're here to support, we're here to help on that area. As we are in the area of export, one of our important things as a market which has something less than 1.5% of the world's GDP, a lot of our businesses, especially our tech businesses, really need to take positions across the world through export and international partnerships. And so we have an international group that can help with trade missions. We could help with making connections with partners in other areas. We can help link with people across government that can help your business get access to markets. And so again, we're here to help, and we really want to do our best to help that area as well, because that's an important area for UK tech. On innovation ecosystem, we have a very broad range of support, including a Catapult Network. And this Catapult Network has expertise, fantastic expertise, in a lot of very specific areas, which range from satellite applications to medicines discovery and manufacturing, to cell and gene therapy, to energy systems, to manufacturing, the full range of everything. And so please use that network, please use those facilities wherever it's relevant for your business. And again, we can help you to access those different things. I want to touch in the remaining time on a couple of other things to do with the areas on the bottom. And of course, I repeat, all of our team are available to be at your disposal to answer any questions today or in due course. And so please feel that you can come talk to us. At the bottom, there are some important foundations, and I'd like to use a couple of these foundations to close off my remarks with you this morning. The first foundation is to do with the need and the opportunity to strongly commercialise the fantastic science and research base that we have in the UK. This is a fantastic opportunity for us as a nation. We do it already pretty well, but I think we have a way to go, and so this is very much a focus across the UK research and innovation system. And so we want to work to help you link with universities, research councils, and ways which we can make happen the commercialisation of the fantastic research and science that we develop in this country. And this is a huge opportunity for us as a nation, and something we take very, very strongly. I want to make two other points. One is that sometimes things are not very simple to navigate. We have a system across the UK which is sometimes quite fragmented. It's because we have such entrepreneurial ideas, and the minute you make one system, somebody else has an idea to do something slightly different or something like that. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that confirms how innovative and creative we are. And so what we want to do as Innovate UK is to help entrepreneurs to navigate that. So don't try and take away the richness of the system. Try and help the navigation of it. So we're going to be launching within a couple of months, or actually even several weeks from now, we're going to be launching something called an Innovation Hub. The essence of this Innovation Hub is to be able to, in 3 clicks, find access to innovation support across the UK system, public support for across the system for your business. So you just have to say what kind of business you are, you have to say what area you operate in, you have to say what you're interested in, where you are geographically, and then the system will then give you an array of different things. Now, maybe you can find this stuff by yourself, and maybe you're all fine and you've already navigated, etc. That's all good. I need to share with you that I am a long-time private sector business leader, tech business leader, and I can tell you that a lot of the stuff that Innovate UK does, I didn't know before I came here. And so what we want to do is to make ourselves accessible. I care deeply and passionately to make us a public service. We need to be accessible to any and all innovators in the UK, whatever size you are. So this thing is going to be called an Innovation Hub, and you'll see it I'm not sure exactly the precise date, but it's certainly before the end of the year, and likely within the next month, between 1 and 2 months, I think, from now, we're going to be launching this. And this has been a lot of hard work to collate a lot of different things, but I think you'll be impressed with the way this tool can give you that service. We're also working on a system which we may end up partnering with some third parties on to better link the names and companies that we've supported with potential sources of capital. So whilst we, as Innovate UK, can't be a broker, so we can't make a market, we can't be an agent, we can't make that link, we can't take advisory as to recommending a business or not, but what we can do is to make the businesses visible and available to professional investors. And when you do that, you allow the professional investor, through the same kind of 3 or 4 click principle, to be able to say, I'm interested in a life sciences business, I'd like to invest so-and-so capital. Oh, I can see Innovate UK has supported all these different businesses, and so we can do that. And so again, we're not quite sure whether we are going to launch that by ourselves or with partners, but we're currently working on that. But the system's already done. And this was something that I cared to do quite passionately, because from my own personal experience, I've seen many situations where you can see businesses just not quite get there, and it could have been made a bit easier for them. And so this is our intention. So 2 last points, and I'm sorry if I'm a little bit over my, I'm not, oh, thank you very much. Point number 1 is to do with Innovate and Innovate UK. I have a slogan that's now a program in our organisation called Innovating Innovate UK. And this is a very deliberate slogan, because as an innovation agency, we need to be innovative about ourselves as well. And so I want to share with you all that we're on a journey. We're on a change journey. There's a lot of things that have changed within Innovate UK as well. And so we're always open to feedback. We are only as good as the results that we get. And so there are no areas which we say, no, no, don't tell us about that because that's fixed forever, etc., etc. When you have feedback, please tell us. So I personally spend a lot of time on the road, meeting businesses, round tables, listening. And sometimes they say that we're absolutely wonderful, and you get a bit red in the cheeks because you're thinking, my goodness, this is so wonderful. But sometimes people say, no, this was an awful experience, and I didn't like it at all. So both are true, both are real, and so we want to be open to that, and we want to be open to be an organisation that learns, changes, and develops. And so my last point is to do with the two areas here. These are innovation, talent and skills, and equality, diversity and inclusion. So we have strong ambitions as the UK in the area of innovation, rightly so. We need to, we should do. We have the pedigree to do fantastic things. We have talented people like you to do fantastic things. But you know as well as I do that we are never going to achieve our ambitions if we don't have the skills and talent pipeline to help work to achieve the big targets that we all have. It just doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen by magic. You don't just suddenly just go to the street corner and stand there and say, it does happen sometimes through serendipity, but you can't do. So you need a structural look at the skills and talent pipeline. And whilst I'm absolutely all for the invitation of brilliant people from all parts of the world to come and live and work in the UK and contribute to our innovation economy, and that's a fantastic thing that we should do, and we should do more of that, we have to consider the talent that we already have in our own nation, which may not have been made to feel welcome, which may not have been made to feel included, which may not have been part of a system that we have been party to. So it's up to us as leaders, to look to fill our skills and talent pipeline by doing different things. If we only go to the same universities, if we only go to the same people, if we only go to the same areas where we've got we won't have enough. There is a big skills gap, and it's growing according to our ambitions. Because the greater our ambitions, the greater the skills gap. So therefore, all of us, as fellow travellers, as partners, have the responsibility to better mine the seams of talent that we already have in our nation. I think this is one of our secret weapons as a nation. I've lived and worked in Silicon Valley and in other parts of the world, and I can tell you that diversity, which is, by the way, not just the diversity that you can see, it's also sometimes the diversity that you can't see. All kinds of diversity is fundamental to an innovation economy. I don't think any of you don't know that. I think you know that already, and I suspect all of you already embrace that. But I want to use my position, I want to use our position to help combine those two areas, because I think we have a fantastic opportunity if we can really make this work. And one of the themes that we're discussing with Mayor Braben and her team is to follow through in that area, because I think this is a really game-changing thing if we can use to transform, and exactly as Mayor Braben said earlier, to look at innovation with a broader perspective and consider real diversity. 4 or 5 months ago, I had one of my proudest moments in my entire career, and my career, by the way, is a fairly long one, so this is quite something to be saying. We hosted a day where we focused on the needs, wants, and reality of what it's like to be an innovator who has a disability. And remember, disabilities are the things that you can see and sometimes the things that you can't see. So it's not for anybody to judge what's disability or not. It's up to the person to declare their disability. So we had a day where we invited a number of businesses, which are run by disabled people who describe themselves as disabled, some government groups, some disability support groups, and we spent time understanding what it's like to go through the journey of going through some of our systems as an innovator who has a disability. And there are so many humble learnings that we went through as an organisation in terms of that. And so when you put yourself in another person's shoes, and all of us have our own shoes, each of us has our own different story, our own different thing, etc., etc. And so I think that as innovators, we have a fantastic area, and this is something that we are very passionate about in Innovate UK, because we see the opportunity to build a fantastic innovation economy by this better mining of the talent that we already have in our nation. Thank you so much for your attention. I really wish you all a great day. Our team is here and available to help and support you, and we're always willing to help and do our best. I could wish you all the best with your journeys, and thank you again for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Indro. And as Indro said, the team is around, and actually we're going to spend much of the rest of the day now digging deeper into some of those themes and some of those opportunities. So there will be plenty of opportunity to get those questions and really get into the discussion around that. So, sorry, Laura, yes? What's that? 2 minutes. Okay, yes. So we're now going to move into our next session, which is a panel. So we need to do some logistical organisation at the front of the room. So please feel free to network amongst your tables and just take a moment to get yourself a drink. And we'll be starting with our strategic opportunities around innovation in just 2 minutes. Thank you. As ready as we're ever going to be at this point, so if I can ask you to please retake your seats. We'll get started with our next session, and you'll be pleased to hear it's not me chairing it. I'm going to be handing over to Councillor Pandor, who is the leader of Kirkley's and also the chair of the Business, Economy and Innovation Committee for the West Yorkshire Combined Authority. So,
thank you very much, and good morning. When I came in this morning, I wasn't expecting so many people here, so it's brilliant to see as many people that we have this morning, and welcome to you all. I'm the leader of Kirkley's Council. I've been a councillor for 22 years. I know I don't look old enough. I just turned 40 last week. I was deputy for 2 years, and I've been leader for just about another 5 years. So I have a lot of political experience, but I've got no business experience. So I'm probably sitting amongst experts, and I've got an expert panel which I'll come on to in a minute. I'm going to slightly change the order of the proceedings. Don't worry, Sarah, I'm not going to completely change things. It's just that I'm going to introduce my bit now, and then we'll flow into the panel. Otherwise, it will look very non-seamless. First of all, the panellists who I'll introduce later on will introduce themselves, but we've got a fantastic panel. They're all colleagues of mine. I know them personally. I work with them very, very closely. And I'm really pleased that, we've got such a diverse panel, because usually when I see panels, they're white, male and pale, but we've got a multicoloured panel, right, which is really good. And you've got the first Gujarati leader. Actually, I'm probably the only Gujarati leader in the country from my background. So again, we are innovating where we should be doing, part of being inclusive. As a combined authority, we actually quite ambitious. And when we had the LEP in its previous form, we had Roger Marsh, who actually was inspiration in himself, and I do keep in touch with him quite a lot. And we always punch above our weight. And Roger had this formula, 5 + 1 = 10 or something, but basically, you know what I'm saying. The sum of the parts were bigger than what we were actually producing, and that is something that we want to continue. We've got an innovation framework, which I don't want to bore you with, but it looks very good. But that framework can only work if people in this room and people on the panel and the wider community actually make it work and breathe and deliver. And we are very committed and we are visionary, and we hope to share our common objectives around inclusivity and growth in business as widely as possible, and that's why engaging as broadly as possible is really, really important. We've got a very strong history and heritage within West Yorkshire. Kirkley's is probably the best authority in West Yorkshire, followed by the other four, not in any particular order: Bradford, Leeds, Calderdale and Wakefield. But on a serious note, as local leaders, we are actually in a very unique position. I was reflecting when I was coming over that we had 10 years of austerity, and we thought, God, the world's going to fall in, but we managed to continue. And at that stage, we were also working on the Combined Authority to get a devolution deal, which we did. Susan was the chair of the Combined Authority, who was also the leader of Bradford, and together we worked really, really closely, and we managed to deliver one of the best devolution deals, if not the best devolution deal in the country. And then we had the pandemic, and we thought, God almighty, the world's going to end. But again, humanity came into its own, and we actually saw the best of humanity. But at the same time, you actually shone a light, didn't it? You actually shone a light on the worst of humanity. We know all the lessons we've learned, but how can we, as community leaders, as politicians, as business leaders, as you are, create a better society? So it's not just about profits, it's also about people. Because one of the things I'm sure you'll believe in, that people are your biggest assets. And if you look after them, and if you innovate them, and if you provide the right environment, we can actually produce a lot more, and we can actually get more bang for our efforts. And then, just when you come out of the pandemic, what happens? My fuel bill goes up from £150 a month to £400 a month. And I'm thinking, God almighty, can anything get any worse? But luckily, my kids have left home, so hopefully my bill will go down again. But that was a job and a half, but that's a different story. But the cost of living crisis is actually going to be quite a big blow to everybody, and not least to businesses in this room. Because I've got a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs. They tell me that, Shabir, we don't know why you do what you're doing, because if you did something else, you'd be a millionaire, you'd get loads of money. I said, no, I've done that and didn't really do anything for me. But it's actually quite a serious issue, isn't it? You know, when you hear firms who are paying £10,000 a year in the energy bills suddenly being exposed to twice, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds. You know, I saw a care home recently where they were looking at bills of in excess of £250,000 a year. These are care homes. So how can they survive? So, you know, there's a lot more pain that we are going to be suffering from. But I hope that people in this room will actually make that innovation to actually get through the pandemic, get through the cost of living crisis, and hopefully we will come out stronger. Because as local authority leaders, I'm sure you know that we develop homes, we have local plans, we're there to support business. You know, we're the ones who are on the front line of defence. We build the factories, we have the schools, we have libraries, we have the environment, and care homes. And within that framework, you know, we put inclusivity, diversity and equality, and that is actually good for business, because if you've got the business case right, then it's better for everybody. Anyway, that's just a quick introduction for myself. I've got the panel members now, so what I'll do is I'll just go from Andrew, and if you want to just quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll go into the panel discussion. I've got a set of questions, and again, these questions have been set for me, but I'm going to change them because you know they're a bit long-winded, so I'll just shorten them. I believe in short sentences, short and sharp, to the point. Andrew.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to stand. I hope that you chaps will follow me. So just introducing myself, Andrew Wright. I'm wearing two hats today. One is as the chairman of A.W. Hainsworth in Pudsey, a very ancient textile mill that takes in wool one end and sends dyed cloth out the other. But also as a LEP board member and deputy to Councillor Pandor on the Business, Economy and Innovation Committee. So that's me.
Thank you, Andrew. I thought I'd sit down and just leave him standing, but that wouldn't work. But I'm Mark Roberts. I'm the chair of the LEP board, the Local Enterprise Partnership, so a sort of public-private body that tries to make a better business climate for business and the economy. And that equation, Councillor Pandor, that you mentioned, was sort of £1 of public money invested alongside £5 of private money to make £12 of economic value. And that's really where I think the magic can happen. So that's one hat I'm wearing. My second hat is more private sector. So I was first decade was spent in the big corporate world where I worked on a lot of innovation projects with global brands. Second decade, I was an entrepreneur. I set up a craft beer business and grew that from basically 2 people in a shed to 200 people in quite a bigger shed, but still a shed in Leeds. And sort of now I'm a sort of an investor and a mentor for a lot of business startups that I work with. So I look forward to chatting later.
Thank you, Mark. My name's Cameron Rashid. I wear multiple hats as well. So, number one, I'm a LEP board member with Andrew and Mark on the Leeds City Region LEP board. I'm also a trustee of the Bradford Culture Trust, which is the organisation that led and secured and won Bradford to become City of Culture 2025. And can we have a round of applause for the city for winning that title, I think. As a Bradfordian, it's an extremely proud moment for us to have won that, and I think it's a turning point in our future and our growth in the city, so really proud of that. In my day job, I run Impact. I'm the founder and chief executive of a small innovation company called Impact Hub Bradford. Impact Hub Bradford is based here in Little Germany. We're part of a global network of social innovators. There's 105 hubs across the world. We own the license and run the one here in Bradford. There's 25,000 makers globally, and we take the title of being the largest network of social innovators in the world. Globally, we work with the likes of BMW, Mercedes, IKEA, United Nations, etc. And I guess my focus here today is really about the societal impact, social innovation and inclusion. Thank you.
Thanks, Cameron. I am stood up. I'm just not as tall as these three. So my name's Mandy Ridyard. I've got a couple of hats as well. So I'm on the LEP board with these three reprobates. I also chair the West Yorkshire Innovation Network, which brings together the actors of innovation to try and get more innovation within West Yorkshire. I'm Chair of Space Hub Yorkshire, which I'm talking about this afternoon if anybody's interested. But the actual thing that pays me a wage is I own an aerospace engineering company in Baildon called Produmax. And we make the bits that make the flaps work on aeroplane wings and export to Boeing in America, Airbus, and right around the world. So that's my real job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, panellists. We've got a set questions which I said to you earlier on that I have slightly changed because as a politician we get set piece and we just slightly improvise. But we do have a plan. You know, some politicians don't have a plan, but that's a different story. Anyway, the first question, I'll go from Andrew and then we'll go that way and then we'll come back the other way. What is innovation and why should we pursue it? Andrew, we'll start with you.
Okay, thanks. I think innovation is obviously inventing new things, yes. But in practice, it's usually the combination of ideas from different fields coming together to make the new thing. I mean, very occasionally somebody gets a Nobel Prize for really thinking of something that maybe nobody had thought of before. But in my experience, having been involved with 3 small startups, it's normally the putting together of people from different fields, getting them to share ideas and solve each other's problems in the way that they would do it, but not the way that the person's doing it already in the field that they're already in. So that really chimes, I think, with the themes that we were hearing about this morning, about the diversity that we have in West Yorkshire, the diversity of people, both seen and unseen, and especially the young people that we have. I think that's one of our absolute key strengths in West Yorkshire, is that we have more young people than any other region. And that's diversity in itself, I think. A lot of us are grey-haired. I'm looking around the room, and yeah, we're fairly typical. But actually not so much in West Yorkshire, and I think I feel very optimistic for the future that diversity will lead to real innovation.
Wow. Without knowing, I've got a really similar point of view on innovation to Andrew. So I like to define it as previously unseen connections, where that sort of comes together and it seems new, but actually we're just connecting things that existed and doing it for a reason. And that reason might be commercial value, might be social value, but there's a reason why we're doing it. And I think, you know, there's 2 things. That I don't think there's ever been more of a need for innovation than today. Councillor Pandor shared all of the challenges that we're facing, but also the pace of change is just so much greater today than I think it has ever been. And for businesses that aren't constantly innovating, I think it's going to become really tough. And I think there are really great opportunities for people who are innovating. And I think certainly in the startup space, with all of the access to global markets and social media, I think there's never really been a better time to start a business than today with where we are. And I also think that this region is probably, and I've done that, the best place to start and scale a business, certainly in the UK. And I'm a real passionate believer in that. So hopefully we'll move along. Cameron.
Thank you. So I won't cover what my 2 fellow panelists have already covered around pace and doing something which has not been done before and, you know, doing it differently. But what I will say is, for me, innovation has historically been about the bottom line. How do we innovate to make more money, to make corporates and businesses richer? And in the social innovation space, for me, we talk about the triple bottom line. And for me, innovation is about how do we address challenges in a way that supports, helps, and empowers people, planet, and also makes profit. So it's not just about the bottom line, it's the triple bottom line, about people, planet, and profit. I think, like we've seen in recent years, climate change, climate catastrophe, we've seen a pandemic, no one envisaged that happening, no one could have predicted that. We've now moved into a cost of living crisis. The disparity between poor and rich, that chasm in between them is getting greater. So how do we innovate in a way which actually protects our environment, the wildlife? How do we support communities, individuals, communities that have been left behind, underserved? But how do we do that in a sustainable way which actually makes profit and is not dependent on grants and handouts, but actually is done in an innovative way that has a sustainable business model underpinning it? So for me, innovation is that.
Thanks, Cameron. My view on innovation, I agree with all these guys, but whenever anybody asks you to name something innovative, or whenever I ask a group of people, they often say the paperclip or the iPhone. And so people often think that innovation is about big things, about big inventions. But in my business, it's about small, incremental improvements. And those improvements can be in the processes that we have, they can be in the design of products for our customers, or they can be in the way that we communicate to our team, or in the way that we train them, the way we innovate in our talent pipeline. So we look at all things and we see it as continuous improvement. So how do we make things better? How do we obviously improve our profit? We're a business, but how do we make our jobs more interesting and more engaging? And how do we engage a more cognitively diverse team to come up with those new ideas? Everybody comes into Project Max with a brain, and we try and engage every single one of them in changing things for the better. And to me, innovation is changing things for the better.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to the next question. And we'll start with Mandy and then we'll work this way. What are the biggest opportunities for West Yorkshire in terms of how do we stimulate the culture of innovation?
I think in West Yorkshire, getting more businesses to be more innovative would be a great start. I think that although we have a higher than average number of businesses claiming their R&D tax credits, it's still not a large amount of businesses that are actually going down on that innovation journey. And maybe that's because the word innovation in itself is a barrier. When you're asked to identify as an innovative company, maybe we're all thinking that we need to invent something brand new, where we don't. We're innovative because we just improve things all the time for competitive advantage or for social advantage. So I think that's the first thing. I think we have some specific opportunities. So we have fantastic life sciences in this region, and on Tuesday night we launched the National Health Innovation Hub at Huddersfield University, which will be an amazing asset for this region. Next week, we have some great opportunities in space, so I chair Space Hub Yorkshire, and next week in Bradford we'll be launching opening the new Bradford Renditch-Intala Centre for Space AI, which is again another fantastic opportunity. Let's not forget our creative sector. In Leeds we have XR Games and Bobby Tandy, who's doing amazing innovative stuff worldwide, and how we engage our young people in this interesting area of AI, gaming, VR, AR is going to be something for the future. And finally, we have a whole host of manufacturing businesses which could innovate every single day in improving their processes. So how we engage all of those areas and make the most of it, I think, is really the opportunity for West Yorkshire.
Okay. Come on.
Can you just repeat the question?
That's why I shortened them. They're even longer. The questions were quite long, and I've shortened them, but I'll go through it again. So what's the biggest opportunities for West Yorkshire in terms of innovation, and how do you stimulate innovation? What's your view on that?
Okay, interesting question. I think there's loads of opportunities. Mandy's mentioned some. For me, going back on the social, I want West Yorkshire to be seen as a destination for social innovation, for those business and entrepreneurs that want to make a difference to society, as well as making a profit and innovating. I want West Yorkshire to be seen as that. We've got amongst, some of our cities here in the region have the youngest population in the UK, if not in Europe. For example, Bradford, 50% of our population is under the age of 25. So we've got that natively kind of digital native audience already within the region. We've got some of the most diverse communities across the UK here in our region. So I believe that if we can make something work here in our region, it's something that can be scaled and replicated across the UK and across the world. We've got opportunities like Born in Bradford. Councillor Hinchcliffe earlier on mentioned about Born in Bradford. For those of you that don't know it, it's a 10-year programme following, young people and health opportunities and, impacts on their health. And it's the biggest longitudinal study in the world. Now, the data that's going to come from that around health sciences is going to be absolutely huge. And also, historically, again, Councillor Hinchcliffe earlier on mentioned that free school meals started here in Little Germany. And Little Germany as an area for innovation, it's where immigrants came, and it was because of immigrants Bradford became one of the richest cities in the UK historically. And we need to change that narrative that we now see immigration in a pejorative way. Well, actually, historically, it was immigration that made this city so rich and wealthy. And it's about changing them stories. So for me, the opportunities in a place like West Yorkshire is actually the young population, the diverse population. And I think finally, it's worth saying that I know sometimes people have that kind of territorial attitude, like that, you know, there's a challenge between Leeds and Bradford, or Calderdale and Kirkley's are an afterthought, or whatever. But if you look at some of the regions across the world that innovate the most, they're super regions. Places in China that are known for innovation, one city is as big as from Leeds to Manchester and everything in between. And I think we have to get beyond that kind of territorial culture to be seen as a destination for innovation, which is the region, not just 5 individual districts that make up a region. So for me, there's, I think, huge opportunities and potential here, definitely about making a difference to society, as well as making a difference to, you know, bottom line profit as well.
Great, thank you. Don't want to repeat much of what's already been said, but maybe 3 quick points. The first one, if innovation's all about connections, then we have some really unique strengths of our region that I don't think we connect enough. So we've got 7 amazing universities. We've got, you know, the largest fintech sort of sector outside of London. We've got an amazing, diverse and young workforce. And I think trying to sort of find the climate to make more connections, to enable ideas to sort of spring is something I think we've got huge potential in. The second point is around sort of talent, and I think we've got some amazing talent within our region, and definitely looking at sort of talent in a much more diverse and inclusive way than what we have. But I think this region is not London, and that's really important because a lot of people don't want to just be in London. They want to be in a region which has got more than a city, and it has a lovely green space and really interesting things to do, and we should be really proud of that. And I think we can attract even more talent into our region and sort of ask the talent that's here to stay. And then I think the third point is about storytelling. We've got amazing sort of stories and case studies of what's going on and what's really working here. Mandy talked about a lot, but you know, we're the fastest growing digital sector outside of London. We don't really talk about it. I think we should be. I think there's probably something about Yorkshire where we kind of hide lights under bushels a little bit too much. And I think we should be really proud of the stories that we have got, because that will then, you know, attract further growth, further success, and we should all be proud to be part of that.
So I'll do a little bit on the, you know, what should we do? I think one of the opportunities for West Yorkshire is that we've got more manufacturing here than any of the other regions of the UK. And I don't think it won't be controversial in this room to say that I think that innovation in manufacturing is one of the biggest opportunities anywhere. Manufacturing, just in the way that it's done around the world, is changing. It's always been changing, hasn't it? But it feels like it's changing even faster now than it has done at any other time. And I think Yorkshire businesses are very, very well positioned to do well at that. And we've got more of them. Those of us that are still here are really, really fit for business. And certainly I think Mandy's mentioned Produmax, and I'll mention Reliance Precision in Huddersfield, 2 manufacturing businesses where when the tax guys come round to look at R&D credits, they say, but everything you're doing is innovation. You know, and I don't think we would be unusual in that, really. And so the fact that it's manufacturing here is a real strength, I think. And that, how do we stimulate it? How do we do even more of it? Well, I'll just use the opportunity to give 3 adverts, really, for things that are happening in the public sector. One of them is Connect Innovation. So through the growth service of the Combined Authority, we have 24 people around the region who businesses can talk to about a range of things, about how they can grow themselves, how they can get better, how they can do new things. And one of the products that we have there is connecting people in those companies to the correct academic. And we've already referred to the fact that we've got 7 world-class universities in the region. So that is a really good programme and a really good reason for promoting business in West Yorkshire. The second one that I want to talk about is the Entrepreneurs Programme. And we've got 3 strands on entrepreneurship, but I'll mention the third one, which is about supporting new entrepreneurs. Some of them will be young, perhaps most of them will be young. And if they have an idea that will potentially change society globally, then they can come forward and apply to be part of this programme. It's just about in delivery now. We've piloted it over the last 3 years or so. It's a very special programme that puts a lot of resource into those individuals. A cohort of about 20 businesses at any one time will be going through it, 1 or 2 founders per business. And the unique feature of the support that's given is that it's 100 hours of one-to-one support with an existing successful, sometimes famous entrepreneur. And we really feel that that's a dedicated resource that's different from what's offered elsewhere and gives those entrepreneurs lucky enough to get in that programme a really good chance of success. And then the last one that I'll mention really is the sort of the theme of today, and it's the opportunity that we have linking up in this region even more closely with Innovate UK. We've had a memorandum of understanding with Innovate UK for a little while here in the region, and with the people who've been here over the last couple of days, we've thought of about 6 different programs that we can do and work together more closely. And when you see the overlap of the objectives that Innovate UK have regarding, for example, EDI or inclusion in general, that's very much in line with what we want to do. And also, Innovate UK are only able to support a certain number of people, and we have a much larger pool. So being able to share the information about who is looking for money, who has got ideas, who does need support between the 2 organisations, we feel can be very fruitful. So I'm optimistic that that will be another really good thread for West Yorkshire.
Andrew, could I just add something?
Yes, you can, Mandy.
So innovative regions attract talent and attract funding. So it's really important for us all to be an innovative region. And so everybody in this room is engaged in innovation, that's why we're here. But then we all have networks which have businesses and social enterprises that aren't doing that or aren't claiming their R&D tax credits or aren't thinking about it. So if we can just connect some of our contacts to our councils, our LEPs, Innovate UK, and persuade them to start to think about how they can apply for funding or help, then I think that would be better for all of us. So it's really about using our networks and persuading our networks to be as engaged as we all are.
Okay, thank you, Mandy. We've got another 3 questions, so we're on the 3rd question now. What's the role of the public sector in supporting both business and individuals, and how can we grow innovation linking the public sector? So I'll start from Andrew and we'll work our way back.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think I just really talked about that one. So just to underline it again, that there is a lot going on. And I think that we have a real opportunity with the devolution money, so-called gain share money that is in the gift of Mayor Tracy and the West Yorkshire region. And I'm really delighted that the Combined Authority is really seeing the value of entrepreneurship and promoting innovation. And of the money that we have, 30-odd million a year in our gift, we are more than replacing the money that we don't have anymore from the European funding going into these areas. So I won't repeat some of the things that I said about what is actually being done, but I will say we are putting our money where our mouth is, and that's partly why I'm optimistic that this is a good thing.
Thanks, Andrew. And there are loads of programs available. I'd really echo what Innovate UK said this morning, and it's about making people aware of it. And it's about like the accessibility and bringing more businesses and more people and making them aware of all of the support that is there. Because there is actually a lot. It's just quite hard to navigate. So the idea of 3 clicks and then being able to find it is really appealing. And I think we all need to work together to sort of do a better job of that. I think the other thing that the public sector can do is help focus and help sort of channel some of the innovation against things that are really important, where perhaps the private sector on its own might not be doing it. One of those examples is probably net zero and around climate change. If we have an ambition as a region to be net zero by 2038, that is going to require a lot of innovation, a lot of companies coming together to work in different ways to sort of help us do that. And I don't think we can do it on our own as this region. It requires national government policy and it requires a lot of other support as well. But I think that's one of the areas that we sort of can, as members of public sector sort of services, to really focus, coordinate and cajole businesses to participate in.
Yes, so I believe I work quite closely with the public sector, and my experience with them has been really positive actually. I think the public sector, the first thing that they should definitely be doing is listening to businesses like yours. I think it's not wise to sit alone, a bunch of kind of bureaucrats, and say this is what we think innovation is, this is what we think business is. They need to get out, meet businesses, visit businesses, and speak to people like yourself and actually hear about the challenges you're facing on a day-to-day basis. That's number one. I think number two, it's about creating the conditions for success. After they hear and listen to what it is that businesses need, you can't provide direct solutions to individual businesses all the time, but it's about creating the conditions for success, being able to navigate and access the support. And there's a huge amount of support already out there, but it's not always accessed. And I think we know places like West Yorkshire, in particular places like Bradford, have underinvestment. There's actually huge amounts of opportunities out there. We don't always access them. So it's about creating the conditions for success for businesses to be able to connect with the opportunities that already exist. I think there's a piece around comms. We had dinner last night. Mandy and I were talking to Indra, and Mandy was just saying the great work that happens in our region around the space industry. And Indra, as the chief exec of Innovate UK, you know, the largest public sector agency for supporting innovation in the UK, did not know about what our region did until he got the briefing on his way up here. So what the public sector can do is raise platform and communicate what is going on in our region, so the people that can support are aware of it. And sometimes it's not about us always going to where the support is, but it's about presenting ourselves in a way where we become investable, and where those that can support us as a region can come forth and come to us. So I think listen, create conditions for success, and platform and communicate the region in a better way.
Monday?
I don't know if I can add that much more to what's been said, except to say that the public sector is there for all of us and for everyone that lives in the region. So it's important that we make our voices heard to the public sector so they can represent us better. So, you know, there's places are often advertised for the LET board, for various different groups within the region. It's about getting involved and representing your community or your sector with the public sector so they can do the best job for us. So I think that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you very much. I had another question here, which was around inclusive innovation. I'm going to skip that because I think the quality of the explanation you just gave covered a lot of the inclusive agenda. The final question I've got is, in 2008 we saw markets crash and recession, and it took a long time for that. I don't think it actually recovered, the innovation to recover after the 2008 crash. Now what we're seeing is another crash in a different form. So what lessons can we learn, and what one thing do you think that we could do to actually get us through the challenges that are ahead? Just one thing. I'll start with Mandy. No, you know, I'll start with Andrew. Okay.
I'm not sure what I can say about what we learned from 2008, honestly. I don't think enough changed, really, did it? Well, maybe we did learn things and didn't act on it, yeah. So I think I'll dodge that part of the question, really. But the cost of living crisis is uppermost in pretty much everybody's mind, you know, and it would be madness not to be talking about it. We are talking about it. But I think in the context of innovation, that might be one of the only silver linings, really, in that we all know that to hit net zero by 2038, as we want to in West Yorkshire, there's going to need to be a lot of innovation. It's difficult to prioritise it in business. You know, I'm in business, I see it every day. But just at the moment, thinking about how we can save energy, how we can insulate, how we can do things differently, how we can put solar panels on, how can we do all of the range of things that have been out there for a while, but maybe we just haven't got to. Well, they've just gone up the agenda pretty hard, and we're all looking at them pretty closely, aren't we? So I think, you know, maybe if there is to be a positive that can be drawn from the challenge that the cost of living, particularly the gas pricing, is causing, then that's it. It can really promote innovation. And if there was one thing that I could wave a sort of a magic wand and have, it would be to persuade the 7 universities in West Yorkshire to work more with their local businesses. We've got an absolutely fantastic set of businesses. Yeah, we've got that. 7 universities. I mean, most other regions would kill for that. I think it's probably a higher density than you've got anywhere, certainly outside of the southeast of England. It's a massive opportunity. I don't feel we're really capitalising on it at the moment. there are links, and you can certainly point to some very good things that happen. And some of us are going to Huddersfield this afternoon, and we'll be seeing some of those great things that do happen. So I don't want to be totally negative about it. However, given the strength of those universities, are we really doing as much as we could do, or as we should be doing, perhaps? And maybe some more thinking on the public side and also within those institutions about how we can link up better and drive better behaviour there, maybe have some performance indicators that show how impactful those universities are being on their local region might be really helpful.
Thank you. Yes, I'd agree with that. I think the way we measure innovation is often R&D tax credits and you know, survey questions saying, are we being innovative? And I think there's actually loads more innovation than that. And I think we need to actually be celebrating all the different types of innovation that we've talked about and finding a way to recognise that. Because I think if we did, we'd find that as a region we're actually pretty good and we're getting better. I think to echo Andrew's point about the crisis and the continued crisis, an interesting stat is that over 50% of the Fortune 500 companies that exist today were born in the time of crisis. If you trace that back to Great Depressions and financial crises, it's typically where the big companies of tomorrow were born. So it is really tough, and I think the energy crisis in particular is having a massive impact on businesses, as is cost of living. But bearing in mind that sometimes that creates the environment for businesses to start and flourish, I think that's up to all of us to try to sort of help. And I think sort of similarly, my one wish would be around how can we make better connections in our area. I think, yes, there's universities and businesses. There's also financial services and other sectors. I think there's so many opportunities in this region. If we can just find a way to better connect things through events like today and like others, but all do our bit to connect our networks, I think we can help each other, and that will be better for everyone.
I guess I'm just mindful of time. Mark's covered most of the points that I was going to make. For me, it's about just, I think we need more investment into the areas which are addressing the challenges that are emerging. So whether it's about investing in those that are kind of creating more sustainable energy solutions or whatever that is. But we need investment. I think our region has been under-resourced in the past. We need investment into the people that are making that difference. But I think Mark covered most of the points I was going to make. So.
Thanks, Cameron. I guess being in aerospace during a global pandemic is not a great place to be. Our turnover more than halved, and so with that and what's happened subsequently with supply chain issues and with the cost of living, we've never been more innovative than we are now. So I don't necessarily agree. I think Mark's right that it's about being measured in financial terms and what's claimed and what people think. And when you're depressed, you don't think you're being very innovative. If you look back, you were. So I think that's really important, is to understand that crisis actually leads to innovation. We saw it with a vaccine. I think my big wish would be for more cognitive diversity, because cognitive diversity leads to innovation. So the more different thinking we have around a table, the more ideas we have. 10 people from the same backgrounds come up with the same 10 ideas. 10 people from different backgrounds come up with 100 ideas. So my business, we target our talent pipeline. We work with a school that's in a rural area, well, with lots of schools, but particularly one in a rural area, one in a suburban area, and one in a city area, so that we have a cognitively diverse talent pipeline. And we're working with MenCap to try and provide work experience for young people who are disadvantaged in that way. So creating that cognitive diversity, I think, leads to more innovation.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the questions. We were going to have some questions and answers, but I don't think we've got time, because I was given up till 11 o'clock and we started a bit late. But I'm sure the panel will be available during the break and in between to take some questions. But just a quick summary in terms of where I think we are. We talk about leadership. So you've got 5 leaders who I mentioned at the beginning, myself, Susan, Denise, James, and Tim, and myself, and Tracy, of course, the Mayor of West Yorkshire. When we were going through the journey of getting the devolution deal in place, one of the things that was very powerful was that we had a very diverse group of leaders, 2 women, 2 men, and 1 BME man. And that resonated, and that cognitive difference was so important. And that's why I really believe that we actually made that big impact. But at the same time, we had the LEP in its previous form, and we had an extremely good partnership, if not the best partnership, I think, compared to the LEPs with the LEP, and Roger was excellent in that. So we had some very strong business leaders, and it's that synergy between the political leadership and the business leadership, and also the community leadership, that actually brought that excellent devolution deal together. And I think we're at the peak now, but I think there's another peak in front of us, because that partnership now, that private-public partnership can go forward. Because as soon as Simon Clarke was promoted to the new role, Secretary of State, he was the minister responsible for the devolution deal. Now, I know Simon quite well, I know, because we built a good relationship. So he's also working hand in glove with central government. It doesn't matter what colour they are, because, the bottom line is we all come into public service to make that big difference. And it's just a narrative in between that we just need to agree to disagree. But the bottom line is, is we in this room, as politicians or business leaders, want to make that difference, so that we can create a better society, create a better community. And I really believe that we've got that in the Combined Authority. And I also feel that we've got that in this room. So let's stay positive. I'm always a glass half full lad. And we will get through this. And once again, thank you very much for the panellists, and thank you all for attending.
And thank you for chairing, and for the excellent questions. So you'll be pleased to hear that we've got a break now, so you can take a minute to digest everything that we've heard this morning. Refreshments are being served outside of this room, but I'm going to ask you to get your refreshment and then go downstairs, because we've also got some exhibitors downstairs, and there's a big networking space, so we can continue all of the great conversations that you've started this morning downstairs, and then don't worry, we'll herd you back up for the next session starting at 11:30. At 11:30, we're going to be hearing now from real businesses from across the region on their experiences with their innovation journey. So really sort of understanding how this is all working in practice, and hopefully doing a bit more of the shining a light on some of the success and some of the great things that are happening here. I mean, that's really partly why we're doing this event, and why we're partnering with the West Yorkshire Innovation Festival to really do that piece. And I also just wanted to pick up on Cameron's point about connecting beyond the boundaries. So if you're enthused by that point and really want to take advantage of that, then that's something that we at Innovate UK KTN can help with. We've got a network from across the country and globally, so reach out to myself or any of my colleagues if you want to talk about how we can help you make those connections. So, and also I just want to flag up that Mandy's session is at 2 p.m. this afternoon. It's one of our parallel sessions, although you are directly competing with me, so kind of awkward there, but Mandy's going to be running that session later on this afternoon. So, go forth, have a break, have a drink, go see our exhibitors, and we'll see you back here at 11:30.
Before you disappear, just stay seated, because like I say, cognitive
Innovate UK KTN Innovation Exchange provides ambitious solution providers with the opportunity to collaborate with key industry stakeholders, helping these major businesses discover the most innovative solutions to solve real-world problems.
IX is a bit different to any other open innovation programme that you might see. What I love about it is if a challenge holder, as we define them, has a problem that they can't solve with their existing supply chain, we help reach parts of the supply chain that they wouldn't normally reach. I guess we have a black book that other organisations might not have at their fingertips.
First of all, it's the challenge owners, and they really like it because it allows them to get access to new ideas from different sectors of people they wouldn't normally meet. And the second party are the solution providers. And what they really struggle with is getting access, getting their foot through the door to the right people. And this takes them and introduces them to the right people with the technical skills that will assess what they're proposing.
It helps people find things they didn't know. It's those solutions that, gosh, never even thought that would work, or I didn't know that we could sell that to those. And that's the advantage for both sides.
The main benefit of Innovation Exchange is it breaks down barriers, it breaks down silos. Innovation and commercialisation is perceived as incredibly difficult. The IX process facilitates the transition of technology through to commercialisation across sectors.
Large companies, small companies, everybody's busy, everybody is tied up. We try and reduce the amount of time that you need to put into to get what you require.
So with the Innovation Exchange, we've proven it to be successful primarily in the energy sector. However, net zero gives us a great opportunity to step into other sectors. In addition, we have potential growth areas with local authorities. We can create an Innovation Exchange for the investor network. So there are a great number of areas where this can grow.
The way we've designed the IX process makes it really easy for public sector organisations to implement, as it maps perfectly to the innovation partnership procurement routes.
The solutions that we've been able to extract through the process, we've reached out to, I think, some 40,000 businesses across the UK. We've really gained from the technologists in the KTN and the real subject matter experts that could really help us to distinguish from what might be good projects to what are excellent projects. We've really been able to get the cream of the crop through that to get to some really, really exciting, promising, highly innovative projects that I think without the KTN we wouldn't necessarily have been able to find.
Our technology began initially in the food industry, and then by the help of KTN we managed to move it into nuclear industry, but also now we are thinking of its use in other sectors.
And by joining basically such a program into the KTN, this helps a lot into bridging this gap and get into a better insights. What are the end users' challenges and what they're looking for? And it will help us, as you have seen, into interdisciplinary application, taking our knowledge, our expertise and applying it into other sectors.
Through relationships and also technical development, I don't think that we've experienced a better setup than the KTN IX program.
If I'd sum it up in one thing, it would be kind of this end-to-end support. So it wasn't that we had, a different point of contact for different parts of it and things got lost along the way. No, we were engaging with the same people from the start to finish. So there was this kind of consistency in what we were wanting to do, and there was some ownership of it from the KTN side, which we really valued.
We've got quite a big Innovate UK project now through our networks with the KTN because of getting involved in Innovation Exchange. So I highly recommend it.
Connecting people to make positive change, and that's what Innovation Exchange allows.
Right. Sorry about that, everyone. I think we're ready to get started again now. Appreciate your patience. So, as I mentioned before the break, the next session is all about hearing from businesses about what their real experience is in innovation. So, I'm not going to do much more talking than that. I'm just going to ask Rob from AMPI to come up and get us started. Now, there's a clicker here, and just... Where's your mic? Anita?
Do I shout instead?
Can we get...
Pardon? Sorry.
All right, microphone is coming.
We'll kick the hecklers out before I start.
Perfect, thank you.
Advanced Machinery and Productivity Institute. I suspect nobody will have heard of it in this room before because it's only been presented to 2 groups previously. UK government innovation funding for machinery, next generation machinery to make next generation products using next generation materials. People have asked, is that the building? Does the building exist? No, it doesn't exist. No, the building will not look like that. That's a very expensive building, and we don't quite have the budget for that. So why is the initiative here? The UK machinery industry in West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester historically was part of that powerhouse for the north of England and for the industrial growth and the industrial revolution. We've lost a lot of that over the last few decades. And sadly, we now, as a country, have a machinery production of about 1/4 of that of Switzerland. So if you look at the population of the UK and you look at the machinery output of the UK versus the population and the machinery output of Switzerland, we're not doing very well. So our ambition initially is to grow the UK machinery sector by 400% and get to where Switzerland is today. So it's quite a bold, ambitious target, but still only gets us to where Switzerland is. It's a multi-university partnership. The Universities of Huddersfield, Leeds, Manchester and Salford, and the National Physical Laboratory, which is an organisation directly owned by Bayes, which, again, very few people in this room will have ever heard of. It is a research lab in Teddington in West London with about 1,000 people and 400 laboratories. But they have about 10 people and 4 laboratories in Huddersfield within the Innovation Centre at the University of Huddersfield. So what is it about? What is it that the UK needs to do differently around machinery? And machinery in the broadest sense, automation systems, it's that connectivity, that digital connectivity from your machine into maybe your ERP systems that gives you insight into the performance of your machinery, maybe gives you an insight into the condition of your machinery, which would enable you to plan some predictive maintenance. It's around metrology and sensing, intelligent machines. It's around machine tools, again, a sector that Keighley and Halifax in particular was incredibly strong in days gone by. We're not trying to compete with established global players in established sectors. We're looking at new materials, new products, which will require new machines to make those products of the future. And obviously, it's about efficiency and productivity and speed with which those machines will make their products. So I must admit, it's a bit of a pet subject of mine, but I hate it when people talk down the manufacturing sector in the UK and say we don't make anything in the UK anymore. I'm not sure you're not supposed to smack your own children, are you? And when they're bigger than you, it's a difficult thing to do. But if either of my kids ever said we don't make anything in the UK, they'd get a very direct answer from me. But we are a leading manufacturing country, and we need to be making products on UK-made machinery. We don't want to be buying machines in from outside the UK to make the products in the UK. We need to stay competitive and invest in our operational efficiency. A lot of politicians will talk about productivity and efficiency. Ultimately, it drives profitability within a business. We need to engage the knowledge base within the UK. And this has been mentioned a few times this morning. Unless you talk to a university, unless you talk to a Catapult Centre, where are you going to get this real driver for innovation and technology advancement. So this is part of the driver for AMPI as well. We've heard mentioned this morning as well about the need for the next generation of employees, and employees who have a knowledge and understanding of the so-called Industry 4 technologies. That needs to be taught from primary schools all the way through the FE and HE system, and we haven't got that continuum of technology awareness within our employment base at the moment. So who benefits from this? It's the machinery builders. This is all about machinery builders, people who are using machines as well are part of the mix. And unless the machines have demand, there's no point in building the machines in the first place. So part of the AMPI consortium is the likes of BAE Systems and JLR, who are the people who will buy these machines. Don't produce a machine and then sell one of them. Produce machines that have clear and demonstrable need. We'll bring the innovators together, possibly the SMEs, quite likely to be the SMEs, the researchers, and that infrastructure network of people who will support the development. We heard this morning so passionately about the needs for networks, and I couldn't agree more. Part of the plan for AMPI and the AMPI community is to develop a peer network where we will bring machinery manufacturers together, and who knows what will happen when people with a... Oh, did I press something? No, I didn't. Am I back at the same place? Ultimately, this is about supporting the UK economy, not just producing machines for our own use, but also exporting machines and developing that skilled workforce that I mentioned. Critically, as new materials are developed, these materials must be processable to ensure that we can produce them, not just the raw materials, but the products from them. We've got to rebuild supply chains. Part of the activity we're going to be undertaking is mapping supply chains across West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester initially, those supply chains which are feeding into the machinery sector. No one has a clear vision of that. We're also going to be developing a technology roadmap, giving an indication of which sectors the UK has a chance to be competitive in. Don't try to compete headlong with foreign businesses who have already spent billions in existing technologies and are world leaders, and we have no chance of catching up. Let's try to identify the future sectors. I'm sure we can all have, we've all got a view on those. Ultimately, from an initiative, we will grow to an institute which will be a national centre of excellence for the machinery sector, with very clear links into the high-value manufacturing catapults, who would hopefully take up these new machine developments and then, through the applications engineering best carried out at the high-value manufacturing catapults, tailor those machines to specific company needs. Again, I mentioned growth in the sector, pretty racy target there of jobs growth. I'm not sure where that figure came from, but it is correct. I haven't added a decimal, a factor of 10 in there by accident. Generating a pipeline of skilled people, supporting businesses, and ultimately creating jobs and prosperity in the north of England. This is where we are so far, the journey we're on. The technology roadmap and business engagement is already underway. I've been in post since the 1st of August this year, working very closely with a colleague in Greater Manchester. We have Strength in Places funding. We will be looking for future innovation funding to ensure that this isn't just a one-hit initiative that comes to an end at the end of August 2026, but it becomes an enduring institute. The skills activity is underway, and slightly later in the journey is a physical building in Rochdale, ideally situated halfway, it's in Greater Manchester, isn't it? But the eastern side of Greater Manchester and close proximity to West Yorkshire. A physical institute, an enduring physical presence that will continue to drive the sector into the future. Here's the consortium initially through the Strength in Places Fund. You see the geography of Greater Manchester and West Yorkshire. On the right, you see the partners. Commercial businesses, one of those is Wayland Additive, who will speak a little later in this session. Rochdale Development Agency are a key stakeholder. It is part of Rochdale's Towns Fund deal, part of the levelling up agenda that will fund the Physical Institute, which will be located in Rochdale, adjacent to the M62. And there again, the universities and NPL I mentioned. So here's the money that we have from the First Innovation Programme through UKRI, the parent of Innovate UK, £22.6 million to be spent by the end of August 2026. And there is money unallocated within that. So you can see there's £8.25 million of money to be allocated. Some of that is industry-led research with a direct outcome in terms of a new machine development. Some is lower TRL, industry-defined academic research. So it is lower TRL level. It is further away from market, but it is still defined by industry need. And then we've got £1 million in something called Innovation for Machinery, I4M. Don't think I'm pressing anything, but could be. The money for the industry-led research, the industry-defined research, will come in 2023 once the technology roadmap is completed. But the short projects, the I4M projects, that funding is available now, and we are actively talking to people about becoming a member of the AMPI community, this community of interest. So the I4M programme, up to 20 days of support, free support to accelerate the development of next generation machinery or machinery, sub-assemblies, robotics, measurement, control systems, machinery builders, and that's exclusively available for businesses in West Yorkshire and Greater Manchester. And I'm not sure how much time I had, but that's my last slide, my contact details there. If anyone is in the machinery sector or anyone wants to have a conversation, please come and find me at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's keep it moving, and I'm going to introduce is it Saley to come up to the front and give us our next talk. Thank you.
Thanks. That was a long walk. Hi. What is the clicker? All right. My name is Saleh. Can you hear me well? It's better now. Yeah, I'm the director and co-founder of CAI, and at CAI we develop medtech technology. We develop artificial intelligence to help radiologists, nurse practitioners, and junior doctors to instantly detect bone fractures on X-ray images. We're doing it to help with the growing shortage of radiologists in the UK. This is a growing problem, and so to help with this problem, we have developed something that we call FracSpert. And FracSpert is an AI-supported fracture diagnostic system that can assist clinicians in busy hospitals, busy A&E departments, and remote locations to immediately identify fractures and bone fractures on X-ray images. We have been developing FracSpert for a few years now with the NHS, and we have built a working prototype that it's on the way of being regulated. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the journey that we've had. I originally come from Mexico, and we've been running the company for a few years now. In Mexico, it was very difficult for me to pursue a career in tech as a woman, so I decided to relocate to the UK to pursue my passion for tech and my passion for healthcare. So when I was thinking about where to go, I wanted a place that had really close ties with the healthcare sector, and this is why I chose West Yorkshire. Seeing how close the connection was and how much collaboration there was, I decided to come here, and it made my decision to relocate really easily. I didn't know that I was going to be running a company. I originally just came here to study a master's, but when I saw the support that there was for small companies and the support that there was to be an entrepreneur, I decided to go for it. I had an idea that I thought could help people, so I decided to pursue it, and I found out that there was amazing support and amazing collaborations. Another decisive factor to grow our company here, because we founded in Leeds, I came to Leeds and I decided to stay here because there's great hospitals, the Bradford Teaching Hospital, the Leeds Teaching Hospital Trust. It's such a diverse region, and this is so incredibly important when you're building AI, because we want to build AI that can help people. We want to build technology that can benefit everybody. And this is why it was so important to us to do it in this sector. But, well, it's not easy to just start a company when you're international, when you have no money, when you have no connections. And before I talk about the challenges that we face and how we overcame them, I can honestly say how grateful I am for the support that I've had, and we will not be here presenting to you if it had not been for the support that we have received from the local council, from the region, and Innovate UK especially. So I will talk about 3 main challenges that we faced during our journey and how we overcame them, as I mentioned. The first one is a limited network. I didn't know a single person when I got off the train 4 years ago. And when we decided to start a business, my co-founder and I were both internationals. Well, we were in a bit of a pickle. But we approached Nexus. We didn't know where to go. We didn't know who to trust. And we didn't know how we're going to get all the networks and introductions that we needed. So when we approached Nexus, they replied within a day. And this is not a promotion to Nexus. I'm just saying our experience. They introduced us to clinicians. They introduced us to professors from the university. And they introduced us to another industry. And the collaboration between industry, academia, and healthcare has been the key drive to take our innovation forward. And all of this has been possible because Nexus provided a gateway for us to access to it. So the support is in the region. You just need to have a starting point for you to access this support. And the whole innovation in general, the whole innovation ecosystem in West Yorkshire is really there to help you. It's very welcoming, it's very supportive regardless of the stage of your company. And because there are many organizations, there are many people that are going to help you, but if you don't know how to access it, it could be quite tricky. So this is how we overcame the limited network, having somebody to go to as a hub of connections. And then it seems like everybody knew us. Clinicians were willing to help us. Industry wanted to collaborate. They made us aware of grant opportunities. And this was like a trigger for us to be growing our business. Another very important part is when you're building medtech technology, it's not just about building a great technology that you swear that it works. It's about knowing how to navigate hospitals. And we didn't know this either. So because of the connections that we had in the early days, we were aware of this program called Propel, which is a digital accelerator program. And this made us aware of how we need to build the evidence for us to be able to take our product into hospitals for it to be adopted. So gathering all this knowledge and obtaining master classes from them provide us the support that we needed to know how we needed to build our medtech technology. You can't just build and try to sell it. You need to build together. So this solved the problem of the limited network, but then I found out another problem. From my computer science background, I had no experience in business. I knew nobody with experience in business, so I didn't know what I was going to do. And when you're first founder, you have to wear many hats. You have to do all the things because you can't pay for somebody to help you to do it. So you have to figure out what you're going to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do. But I was fortunate enough to have received a lot of support from the region and a lot of support from Innovate UK. And one that I would really like to mention is the support that we have received from Innovate UK Edge through the Women Innovation Program. They have really helped us. This has been one of the most useful support because they have really helped us to visualize and define our business goals. We have reached up to a certain point. We have built a working prototype, but we didn't know where to go. So we have the technology, but we didn't know how to sell it. We don't know how to progress further. And because of the help, that support, the path is a bit more clear. They have also provided market intelligence so that this gives us new paths and new opportunities for our business and our technology. And this has been incredibly helpful. Another point is a program called Design for Growth. This is also as part of the Women Innovation Program, and it's also as part of Innovate UK Edge. And this has been a great opportunity for us because it was tailored business support. It was tailored coaching, it was workshops, it was sessions for us to learn how to do design thinking and to think out of the box because we were too pragmatic, just thinking that we were just doing the right way and the right thing, but we didn't know how to really think about our target customers, how to really think about our product and how other people were visualizing it. So this really helped us a lot. It provided tools for us to really think about our business, to really think about our brand. And these are the skills that I didn't have before, and my co-founder didn't have either. So I can really see the difference from when we just started the program till now. I feel like we're a completely different business, we're completely different business owners. And the other thing that we faced was funding. It's not cheap to build medtech technology. It's not cheap to try to start any business without money. And I can say that when I arrived to this country, I only had £300 in my pocket. So the support that we receive, the funding, the grant opportunities that we have received, sorry, I'm speaking too fast, I had too much coffee. There are many funding and business opportunities out there for you to grow your business, but it's not easy to access them if you don't know what you're doing. So it's an art to write grants. You need to be searching for the business, for the opportunity all the time. And you really need to have defined what you're going to do with that funding and how is it going to take you to the next stage. So you need to have your path really clear. So for us, I was one of the Winning Innovation Award winners for this year. And this has been incredibly helpful, not just for the money, but just for the support that it has provided. But with the money, with the cash injection, we're crossing that bridge between a research project into a product that can be integrated into the market. So with this, we're helping to regulate our products so that it can be implemented in hospitals and make a difference. So the cash injection has really supported us to get to the next step. And well, more about the support provided, more about the funding provided has been the support that we have received. So I cannot do anything else but to thank you for all that. And I just want to say, if you know, before I finish my presentation, that if you know anybody that is thinking about running a business or just pursuing a research project, especially in healthcare, I can tell you that West Yorkshire is the place to do it because there's people and there's organizations that are out there and they're going to help you. Their goal is to support you succeed. And this has been our case, this has been our experience, and I just wanted to share it with you. And I've reached the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant, thank you so much. Great to hear that you're having a good experience. And there's currently another Women in Innovation competition open now, and you can hear more about it in our Women Innovate session this afternoon as well. Okay, so next up we have Associated Utility Supplies, and I think it's Kira? Is that right? Yeah. Here you go.
Thank you.
So I'll give a bit of an intro to who I am. So I'm Kira Greensill. I studied a mechanical engineering degree at Sheffield Hallam, and the way I got into AUS is through a placement year. I did a sandwich year in my degree, did my final year project with AUS, working on one of their big projects that they had going at the time. And then I was lucky enough to get a permanent job with them after I finished. So, a little intro to AUS itself. This does not want to be my friend. So, AUS is a small company based in Clayton West in Huddersfield, and we design, develop, and produce components and tools for the rail, electrical supply, arboricultural and telecommunications industries, and we also offer things like inspections and training as well to people that work in those industries. So a little bit about AUS's innovation journey. So I'll just do a brief overview of some of the key points in the journey, and then I'll go into a bit more depth afterwards. So AUS were founded in 1998, and they originally started off as a company that bought and sold components and supplies into the electrical supply industry. this was fine, but the challenge was the fact that we couldn't make anything ourselves. So the director decided to branch out into in-house manufacturing, and by 2012, we'd also branched into the rail sector, into the overhead line industry, and then we became accredited to supply for Network Rail for their overhead line electrifications. This was great because we'd advanced from just buying and selling goods, but then we realised that what we were actually making wasn't designed by us. So then we decided to branch more into the design side of things, but no one in the company knew how to do that. So the director contacted the University of Huddersfield and contacts that he had there, and Innovate UK. They connected, and KTP1 came out of that, which was looking at more of the design and development sort of thing. So that was great because the company could move into that, built a bit more of a team, and then we wanted to look into some bigger projects. So we got funding from Innovate UK to do 2 first-of-a-kind projects. One of them was looking into fibre-reinforced polymers in structural applications. AUS had no knowledge of that. We wanted to branch out again. There came KTP2, which was specifically looking at FRP in structural applications. So by 2020, we had 2 KTPs. One KTP had then become the manager of the innovation team. The second KTP was looking into FRP. And then this year, which is not actually on this roadmap, but this year we've actually got another KTP starting this month looking at the operations side. So I'll go into a bit more detail of the main objectives for the KTPs that we've had. So like I say, the first KTP was dedicated to design capabilities focused on innovation using state-of-the-art CAD and simulation tools. I'll go a bit more into detail about KTP1 in a second. And then KTP2 in 2020 was designing, manufacturing, and assembling FRP structures, because we'd only used FRP we supply insulated rods to the different industries, so that's the only thing that we'd looked at. That obviously isn't structural. We wanted to branch out a little bit more. So that's actually pushed us down the avenue, and we're exploring that even more now, which is great. And then, like I said, KTP3 is looking at business-wide operations and production planning. There's also a 4th application in the pipeline. We like KTPs. There's also a 4th application in the pipeline looking at digital twins using CAM and sensors to actually feed back into our design improvements of existing products. So the benefits of the first KTP were huge. The benefits of them all have been great, but the benefits of the first one are huge because we now have a product development team of 4 people. So we dedicate our time to creative problem solving in innovation. There's 2 full-time members, 1 manager and 1 placement student. From that, there came over 40 new products. I'm pretty sure that number's a lot higher now. And multiple existing product improvements as well. And then through KTP1, we became more aware of the different competitions and funding through Innovate UK, and we got another in excess of £700,000 worth of funding to do the first-of-a-kind projects. So one of the first-of-a-kind projects we got was the span wire clamp. So this is a piece of railway infrastructure. It's a small component in the infrastructure. There's a pretty running theme in the rail industry that everything was designed in the 60s and it's all galvanised and looks the same. So it has a huge component count, really high mass. The manufacturing techniques were old-fashioned, they were inaccurate. The patterns were wearing because they were being used that much. The tolerances were out. It was causing all sorts of problems. So AUS took on the challenge to make a more environmentally friendly, more effective, time-saving version of their own. So there were a lot of challenges in this project because it was outside of AUS's design capabilities and manufacturing capabilities. We didn't have a huge amount of knowledge about castings and things like that, which is where the contacts from the University of Huddersfield came in, and we were managed to branch out into their knowledge, tap into that a little bit and use that to our own advantage to come to the final design that we have. We also worked with the Institute for Railway Research, and they checked the feasibility of such a massive design change as such an integral part of the system. So AUS's version can be installed around 4 times quicker than the existing version, with a weight saving of around 66% and a reduction in CO2 emissions of about 75% compared to the existing version. There's also a massive reduction in inspection times because you don't need to change any of the liners or nuts or anything like that. And there's a huge component reduction, which is great. That's also now out on the live networks, being used all over the country. The next one is a little bit bigger than that one. So the next one looked at, this was the one that tapped into KTP2. So this one was looking at fibre reinforced polymer footbridge. So some of these main objectives were, so we wanted to find a novel way of joining FRP lengths together, which is a bit tricky, but we tapped into that. And we also wanted to support Network Rail's target to reduce level crossing deaths to 0 by 2020, because it is a huge problem all over the country. There were 2 deaths and more than 1,500 near misses in 2018-2019, and 6 deaths in 2019 to 2020. So we wanted to reduce the weight of the bridge, reduce the amount of equipment on site, make it easier to install, and make it a lower cost so that it was more accessible to more people along the network, so we could try and get rid of these level crossings that are effectively killing people. So there were a few challenges that AUS faced in this project as well, one of them being it started in COVID, the start of COVID, which, while it wasn't great for most businesses, and it wasn't great for AUS in terms of production of and orders of regular components that they make, it meant that time could be focused on the design side of things. So a lot of time could be spent developing this idea and making it the best that it could possibly be, which was great until sales of everything else went back up and we needed to make a footbridge that was 17 meters long in a factory that wasn't quite that big. So we had to really innovate in terms of manufacturing capabilities and assembly methods to be able to make something on such a large scale, because we'd only ever worked with small components before. And it was a totally new material that needed totally new tooling, unfamiliar health and safety risks, everything like that, but we conquered the challenge, made a footbridge and presented it at Rail Live in 2021 with a massive reduce in weight. There's a modular design that can be transported to site by road HIAB, which is much smaller than the existing transportation. This thing can be put up in about 2 days, which is minimal disruption to the train lines. We all know how frustrating it is and how expensive it is to Network Rail when train lines are disrupted and there's delays and cancellations and all things like that. It's also better for the environment, because FRP is much better than steel. There's no galvanizing or painting or anything like that, so it's massively low maintenance. And the pricing of FRP is much more stable than steel, so it is much more accessible to many more people across the line. So this is my last slide. So just a quick one on the next steps for AUS. We've got another grant that we've been given by Innovate UK. That's a smart grant to look into another piece of railway infrastructure. And we've also worked with Innovate UK Edge, specifically Anne and Kevin, on a 5-year innovation plan. So we've got a lot more exciting things in the pipeline. And if you've got any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, and you can hear more about Innovate Edge support in our sessions this afternoon, and also there's a session on KTP too, so if you want to find out more about how you can get a piece of the pie and not let AUS take all the KTPs, then please come along to that one. Okay, so next up we've got Jason for In Communities.
Hello, I'm Jason Baines. I'm the Director of ICT and Business Intelligence at In-Communities in Bradford. Well, we're based in Shipley. You'll be pleased to know I should only need to click this once, because there you have it. That's my slide. So In-Communities, we are the largest housing association in the Bradford district. We were what's called a stock transfer. We were transferred all of the Bradford Metropolitan Council stock to a housing organisation called Bradford Community Housing Trust in 2003. We rebranded to be In-Communities, and now we are starting to reach out. We've merged with a local housing association in Huddersfield, bringing a further 1,500 properties into our stock portfolio. But primarily, we are based in the Bradford Metropolitan District with 21,000 out of our 22,500 properties in the Bradford Met District. So our project is the introduction of ethical artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, that sounds quite ambitious for a housing association based in Shipley. But for many years, since I became first the head of IT and then the director of IT, I've been very, very keen to start using and making decisions around data and learning from data. So in 2014, we introduced our data warehouse, and we collect on a daily basis granular information around payments, charges, repairs, complaints, requests for service, telephone calls, all linked to customers, changing family composition, transfer requests to move from different types of properties to different types of properties. We have a vast data warehouse. Now we build dashboards for our managers to use, and some people engage more than others. Some people don't feel as though it's their need to engage, and some people do a lot of delving down into data dashboards to improve our performance. Now, my challenge to myself just prior to lockdown was, how do we use this really granular, detailed data that we have in a data warehouse to improve our customers' lives? I should have said at the outset that In-Communities' mission is to improve the lives of our customers. And improving the lives of our customers has a direct relationship on our successfulness as a business. And vice versa, the more successful we are as a business, the more we can invest in our properties and in our communities. So we came at this purely from improving our customers' lives and preventing unwanted outcomes and intervening with our customers early where we could predict unwanted outcomes may occur in the future. Successful outcomes are tenancy sustainability. Somebody stays in their property, they pay their rent, we have low repair cost, sustainable rent balances. All these things make us as a business much better and allow us to invest much more in our communities. These are good outcomes, and they're good outcomes for the business and the customer who wants to be moving house, not paying the rent, getting into debt. Unsuccessful outcomes, tenancy abandonment. Tenancy abandonment where, you know, we believe a tenant has abandoned a property, but we have to go through a process of proving that, then going through the courts to get access. This all costs money, and ultimately those charges are put on the customer who's left, which then will drive people into debt and potentially into court. We don't want that. Evictions, we don't want that. We don't want people unable to pay the rent. That's not good for us. It's not good for our customers. We don't want high repair cost. We want people to look after their homes and make them sustainable. Now, often I mention antisocial behaviour now. We don't want antisocial behaviour because the place you live should be your safe place. You know, you may have a bad day at work, you may work with people you don't really like, but when you go home, you should feel safe in your home. And high repair costs could be a good indicator of domestic violence, for one, but also high repair costs will lead to more recharges potentially, and again, pushing customers into debt. So, I was thinking about how we use this data, and it came much more down to predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics. Rather than reacting to things, why can't we predict and intervene early? Early intervention with our customers to improve their lives. I had little knowledge of real good predictive analytics. I'm good at using data, I'm good at understanding where we can react and change processes and business processes to improve performance, but actually intervening early and predicting what might occur based upon events that are happening, I had very little knowledge. So I did some research, and one of the One of the institutions that I came across was Bradford University. What a great fit. All of our properties in Bradford University with a management school and a computing school that were involved in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I just reached to the top and I linked in the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Professor Zahir Irani. Zahir contacted me back, we had a meeting, and we spoke about what we wanted to achieve, which I came at it from improving our customers' lives. Zahir bought into that straight away, but also it was more if we can build these partnerships. Zahir is also the chair of the Bradford Economic Recovery Group, so dealing with many institutions around Bradford. And if you think we've got 60,000 people living in our properties, they may also be engaging with Bradford Council, with adult social care, with the NHS. All of these institutions that we've spoken for years about working more closely together and using our data more closely together, but have never really achieved it successfully. So while this is one aspect of a project for in communities and our customers, I want to reach out further so that we as agencies supporting these people can work much more closely together moving forwards. And I thought the Bradford University would be a really key, great link in achieving that. So I mentioned some of our issues as a business and some of the issues that our customers face. So I've come up with probably 6 key areas that we want to use AI and machine learning to intervene early with. And we want to use it to run the models, and we want to use these models in real time. So when we've got a customer on the phone and their family composition is changing, or somebody's suddenly become unemployed, or circumstances have changed, we want to be looking at AI and machine learning models to see the risks that the customer could potentially face, so that we can offer assistance and support really early on in that journey, rather than it leading to something that we don't want to happen, an unsuccessful outcome for both of us. So tenancy abandonment, is there a correlation between changing circumstances, using our data warehouse and the historic data that we gather on a daily basis, and also we have all the outcomes, so we can see patterns between, you know, a customer stops engaging with us, stops logging repairs, stops ringing up to complain even, where a customer has been really religiously engaging with us, suddenly stops engaging. What's happening? Now, because, you know, if you're a reactive business, you react to calls, you react to repairs, you react to complaints, but we really should be looking at the people who are not engaging with us as well and what's happening in their lives. So using this data to stop tenancy abandonments early and engage with customers and create sustainable tenancies. We are here to help our customers, not punish them. To intervene early in increasing rent arrears where artificial intelligence and machine learning is telling us that will ultimately end in eviction, because we've seen these patterns before. Let's intervene early, let's get assistance and turn that increase in rent arrears around and make it manageable. Predictive component failure from a business. You know, if we've got a boiler and we're doing a boiler replacement program, if AI and machine learning can say these types of repairs, you're going to be going back and back and back, replace the boiler next visit. So all these kind of things, just getting access into people's homes and having a risk of you're not going to get access because they generally don't let you in. Well, they've just logged a repair. Let's go and do the electrical inspection at the same time, because they generally don't let us in for the electrical inspection because they didn't ask us. So, you know, joining up all these areas of the business to make us much more efficient and effective and improve our customers' lives. In talking to Zahir and the university and how we might do this, Zahir asked one of his colleagues, Sanka Sivaraj, Professor Sanka, who's here today with me, and we put forward a KTP, a 2-year KTP, knowledge transfer partnership, because one, we didn't have the expertise in the business, so we needed the expertise. And 2, we really want to embed the thinking of predictive and prescriptive analytics into our management and into our business. We want our managers coming forward with how can we predict this, how can we stop this happening. And prescriptive analytics are really pushing the boat out in terms of analytics, is around this is a successful outcome, what actions have we taken in the past that have led to a successful outcome. So actually reverse engineering successful outcomes and looking at what we need to do to make that happen. So it's an ambitious project. We've only just started. We're probably 6 months in. So we've recruited an associate, Srinidhi, who's sat there with Sanka. Srinidhi's got the expertise in machine learning technologies and artificial intelligence. She works 4 days a week with us in Shipley. She works 1 day a week at the university. We've got the support of Sanka Sivaraja from the management school and Dr. Takao Mariami from the computing school. So all that expertise of investing in artificial intelligence and using machine learning. Year 1 will be about learning and data quality and looking at where we will use. As I've said, I've come up with kind of 6 areas, but I am absolutely convinced there's a golden nugget out there that no one's even thought of, and it could be so simple. So it's Srinidhi is going out in the business and learning what we do, how we do it, and what our challenges are. Year 2 is about building the models, linking them up with our real-time systems, and really putting them to good use. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think there's a Q&A at 12:30. That's what I wanted to tell you about. In communities, linking up with Bradford University and improving our customers' lives. Thank you very much.
All right, as you may have guessed, we're running slightly behind schedule for 12:30 is not going to be when we're doing Q&A. But we will be going after this straight into lunch, so there'll be lots and lots of time for more questions and more discussions on this. All right, I'm going to hand straight over to John to take us through Eventum. And, oh, your mic.
Okay, so let me tell you about the Eventum story. So Eventum Orthopedics is a medtech startup based in West Yorkshire. We started on quite an infamous date, so the 20th of March 2020, yeah, the day before lockdown. It was a cup of coffee at Costa's in Ilkley between me and an ex-colleague. So Eventum is made up of 3 highly experienced ex-international kind of management professionals. We're all unemployed at the start of Eventum as a result of redundancy. Our funding journey was a bit of a struggle, I have to be honest, because, you know, we're used to raising money within a large corporation. We know how to pitch, we know who to talk to. But outside of the corporation environment, you know, I'd never spoken to a venture capitalist. We actually spoke to the LEP, we have a mind map of every funding agency in the region. Our funding journey was an 18-month period, and we almost gave up. We ended up working the night shift at Next to pay the bills. And it was actually in December when I think I connected with Marcus Orton in Innovate Edge. And Marcus, we talked it all through and said, we're speaking to everyone. We meet the requirements. We're a med tech, startup, manufacturing, experienced, and we just couldn't get to that stage of getting any support or help or funding. So Marcus said, well, what about the Northern Powerhouse? Have you tried them? So in the end, we pitched to the Northern Powerhouse. We raised £1.4 million of seed investment. But then it didn't finish there, because we're still in lockdown, and we had to open a bank account. Oh my gosh. So we had this money coming into the business, and I'm literally speaking to all of the banks saying, can I open a bank account? And they're going, sorry, we're not opening bank accounts at the moment, sir. It's like, but I've got £1.4 million I need to put into a bank account. Anyway, and I have to hold it out to Eagle Labs, and I would recommend Eagle Labs, they actually reached out to us, and their high growth business unit were fantastic, so they had us set up very quickly, luckily, because otherwise we had nowhere to put the money. So thanks to Eagle Labs, we work with University of Leeds, the Mechanical Engineering Department. We work with University of Bradford, the Bioscience Department, Leeds Beckett University, Sports Unit, and again, through Marcus's connection, University of Leeds, the AMRC. So we took on our first employee, Annabelle Watson, who in January 22. She's our PMO, but we're a small business, so we all do everything. We're about to land our Series A funding round and do scale up, which will allow us to create 15 new jobs in Yorkshire. So it's been a journey, but that's kind of our history. What do we do? Well, could I ask you all to please stand up? Come. You've all been sat down for too long. Right, if you could all now bend over and feel the soft tissues around your kneecap. Okay? Now just squat slightly. Do you feel those tissues get tight? Do you all feel that? So in extension, all very loose, and then you flex slightly, gets tight. Okay, so you can all sit down now. Well, getting those balance right of the kneecap during total knee surgery is critical to the success of total knee surgery. Why? Well, there are 2 million total knee surgical procedures performed globally. Out of those 2 million procedures, 20% of the patients are dissatisfied with their functional outcome. Out of them, 45% go to their consultant orthopedic surgeon, and by the way, they all think they're gods, and they look at the x-ray and go, I did an amazing job, and the patient comes in and says, this hurts, it's painful. So they don't like it, and the patients are clearly unhappy, and the cost of treating those patients is about £5,000 per patient. So in the UK alone, the NHS is spending £90 million a year treating dissatisfied patients. So what does Eventum do? Well, Eventum has developed a technology, and we can give you a demonstration downstairs, that allows surgeons to balance those forces during total knee surgery so that they can replicate the forces at the start of surgery to give the patient the correct natural balance at the end of surgery and hopefully reduce that 20% of dissatisfied patients. So what does it consist of? We've got a computer which is linked to the cloud. It outputs data to the cloud, which generates big data analytics on how surgeons perform surgery. There's a sensor that is the saleable unit, and that device goes into the knee during total knee surgery. And then we have a surgical procedure which allows the surgeon to make adjustments to correct the balance of the forces in the knee. So you're all experts on knee surgery now. Let me teach you how it works. So there's 3 basic steps. You collect, compare, and then correct the forces. So you start out, you take a measurement where you collect the patient's natural forces. The surgeon then replaces the knee, and when they do that, they move the position of the articular surfaces. So they then take a measurement that allows them to compare the patient's natural to what they've done to the patient in surgery. And then by adjusting the depth of resection or the angle of resection on the patella or the kneecap, they can then adjust those forces to give the patient, hopefully, a more natural outcome. QuadSense is a £300 million opportunity globally. Our intellectual property position, so we have 3 patent applications. One of them has been granted in the UK and is about to be applied for internationally. We have 2 further patents that we're pretty confident that will get granted in the UK in November, and we will be making international filing for those 2 applications. We've got a global team of orthopedic surgeons who are supporting us. And interestingly, Professor David Barrett is actually presenting at the European Knee Society meeting on QuadSense right now in Munich. So we're really proud about that. We've presented QuadSense at the BASC meeting, which is the British Knee Society meeting, and the British Orthopaedic Society meeting. And we've got 60 surgeons from the top orthopaedic centres in the UK who are all expressing an interest from when it's ready, I'll use it, to when you've got data, I'll use it, to I'll help you get data. So we're in a pretty good position in terms of the marketplace. We're actually moving into our comfort zone because I was the Senior Marketing Director for Asia Pacific, so sales and marketing is 8 minutes. Sales and marketing is kind of where we're comfortable. I started out in engineering, and we've been doing that for the past year, but it's been a long time since I've done a lot of engineering. So, competitive landscape. The large orthopedic players are not looking at the patella. They're all focused on robotics that help them address issues around the tibia and the femur. So we've got a pretty good IP position, and the reality is the large players will not invest the amount of money that we've invested in the patella because they perceive it as a small area. Their mistake. We operate in a highly regulated environment. We're about to get the UK CA mark. We're a member of the ABHI, so we're fully compliant with all of those rules and regulations in terms of dealing with healthcare professionals. And we're also, we plan, and we're not quite there yet, but as part of our Series A funding round, we intend to be carbon neutral as a business. And it's going to be relatively easy for us to do that because as our volume grows, our carbon offsetting strategy can grow. So, and there's a story behind this slide. I'm almost done. So when we were pitching, we'd pitched to lots of venture capitalists. There's this one guy we're pitching to him on a video conference, and he's dressed in a funny suit which has got electrodes all over it, and he's saying, I've just invested in this thing, it replaces gyms, you don't need any equipment. And he's like, so he pitched, and he goes, oh, it's a nice idea, but it's just too small. Everyone's talking billions, he says, because he was like a West Coast American guy. I can't remember how we connected with him, but over 18 months, we spoke to lots of people. So this is our billion slide. This is our first product that we're about to launch. And then we have two other products that we're in early stage development. One is TrackSense to help with follow-up of patients, and then one is HipSense to solve a problem that we think exists in the hip space. Because for me, innovation starts with the problem. It starts with what's the unmet need, and then you have to deliver the appropriate technology to address that unmet need. And this is the Eventum team as it stands today. So thank you very much for your time. Hopefully I saved you 2 minutes.
Thank you. All right, every little helps, so thank you for that. All right, so next is David from IOSite. Thank you. And there's your clicker.
Thank you. Right, hi everybody. Yeah, my name's David Farrer from IOSite. I'm R&D Director at IOSite. So thanks for the invitation to speak today. So I guess the IOSite story actually starts with another company called Kairos, which itself is a great West Yorkshire innovation success story. It span out of Leeds University, I don't know, 30 odd years ago, but that's another story for another day. But going back a few years now, I was heading up a small R&D lab at Kairos, developing new fibres and biomaterials for use in Kairos business. And part of my remit actually was to help to diversify the business. And again, to cut a long story short, we ended up actually developing some IP, which was actually in the wound care space. And this was looking really promising. We'd done some testing that showed it was really promising. We did a bit of market analysis, which showed, we thought there was an opportunity there. But probably I'd taken the diversification thing just a bit too far. It was just a bit too far out of Kairos's scope of core business of orthopedics. So, but with the business, they're very supportive, and we actually created IOSite as a spin-out about 3 years ago to exploit the IP that we developed in that area. So I'd say I'll talk about the product in a minute, our expertise in biomaterials and wound care and medical device development. So I think part of the sort of challenge that Kairos set us when they sort of spun us out as a separate company was, to get some external support to help make the investment they wanted to put in, make that investment go that much further. So in January 2020, we submitted a Smart Award grant application to Innovate UK, and luckily we were successful. So a little bit about the area we're operating in. So we're in the sort of field of advanced wound care, particularly, treating. Sorry, this is getting a bit close to lunch, and these slides always come up around lunchtime. So sorry for the picture of the wound there. But we're into sort of treating things like this: chronic wounds, things like leg ulcers, pressure sores, wounds that won't heal by themselves without some kind of intervention usually. And this is a huge problem for the NHS. Actually, it's not often discussed very much, but actually costs the NHS more than obesity. And you think how much we hear about obesity, you don't hear about advanced wound management very much. But it's a huge issue. And every wound is different, and it's not always obvious why these wounds won't heal. There are lots of factors that can influence it. Sort of excess wound fluid produced, infection's a big problem. Related to that, biofilms, this is when they get really heavily colonized by bacteria. Inflammation. And, there are lots of wound dressing products out there, and, a lot of them will actually target one or two of these issues, but no product necessarily addresses all of those. And so, because it's not always obvious to the nurse, what the problem is, they end up having to make some kind of judgment, put some wound dressing on, see how it goes, leave it for a few weeks. If it's still not healing, they'll perhaps change the intervention. They'll go around this loop a few times. And this is all costing the NHS money. It's inconvenient and painful for the patient and everything. So, our challenge here was to come up with a treatment that we felt the nurse could just go to that and it would work sort of first time and sort of take some of these cycles out. So this is our product. It is a highly absorbent gelling fibre dressing, and then we combined it with povidone iodine. So iodine is a well-known antimicrobial agent. It's been around for a long time. It's not actually that new, but it's kind of been overlooked. Everybody got very hung up on silver a few years ago, lots of silver wound dressings. Everybody got very focused on silver. We think iodine is an overlooked antimicrobial agent. It's extremely effective at disrupting biofilms, much more effective than silver. It has anti-inflammatory properties, as well as being antibacterial. So, we think we kind of hit all these barriers to healing. The great thing is it fits with current reimbursement categories, and we think we're very price competitive. Again, we're competing against silver, which, it sounds expensive and is expensive. Early on in the project, we did some validation with customers. We were actually looking to launch in the US first, because we don't need the clinical data to launch in the US, and it's clearly the biggest healthcare market in the world. So we actually went to the US to do some market research. That came out very positive. In fact, 100% of nurses that we spoke to said they would not only use the product, but would actually advocate for its adoption. Again, very high scores with other, not just the nurses, but also the wound care admin and the physicians as well. So, we had good market validation, and then on the technical side, we did some lab testing, which again showed that we beat the market leader in biofilm testing, and also had faster healing in vivo models. So in terms of our sort of funding journey, at the start of the process, we had support from Kairos. We'd done some proof of concept work in the lab. We had a lab scale process. We could make small batches of product. We had some good, very positive proof of concept data that showed we were effective against bacteria and biofilms. Hadn't optimized the formulation, and so we really needed to get the product to a stage where we could apply for market clearance in the US. So in March 2020, we found out that our Innovate UK application had been successful, and then COVID hit. A bit like the previous speaker, literally almost the day before lockdown, we kind of got this. So that was a bit of a challenge. But actually Innovate UK were great. They offered these continuity grants. So again, we got some further funding through the Innovate UK continuity grants as well, which again helped to get us through that, some of those COVID issues. So I'd say that was when we were at the start of the project. I'm not going to go through the project in great detail, but basically by the end of the project, we had optimized our product. We had a design freeze. We had the final product. We had independent lab testing, which proved the performance of that product, both in terms of antimicrobial properties, antibiofilm properties, anti-inflammatory, and also faster wound healing. And we'd also put in place our supply chain, and we had a pilot process, not just in the lab now. We could actually manufacture continuous on a continuous process, small batches of material, enough for clinical trials and also probably enough to make stock for launch and things like that. So we had a pilot process. We presented at various UK and US conferences, and that was important for actually getting us some visibility with some of the big wound care companies and that we would sort of want to talk to. We also had testing, done a lot of the testing that we needed to do for our US regulatory application. We had a few challenges along the way. So I think by the start of the project, we'd hoped to get to that US regulatory filing by the end of the project. We didn't quite get there. We had a few challenges I'll talk about in a minute, but we were certainly in a very strong position and just needed to do a few more things so that we actually ended up submitting our 510K application to the US FDA in May, actually. So we're expecting to hear back from that any time now, actually, to whether we've actually got the regulatory approval, which will clearly be a major milestone and a massive de-risking of the project. That's just, I'll skip over this, but this is just an example of some of the posters and things that we were able to put together that helped to get us some visibility out there. And we know these are effective because we've been out so proactively talking to the big wound care players, but a lot of them have said, "Oh yeah, you're on our radar. We've seen your publications and things, so we know those things have helped to get us on their radar." In terms of challenges rather, COVID-19, I mentioned that sort of struck just before we were about to start our Innovate project. A lot of our work's very lab-based, and we had issues. We had a member of the team who was shielding at the time, so we had issues with sort of trying to work out ways we could actually still get in the lab and do physical work. Also doing sort of remote working in terms with suppliers and things. Again, working with suppliers was a bit of a challenge. Again, with COVID, also I think because we were sort of a start-up, not necessarily their top priority. It took us a bit longer to get materials and things. I think ideally we would have maybe partnered with somebody before we actually applied for the grant, but we overcame all that. I think another lesson was that sometimes tests will fail. We perhaps hadn't allowed for going around some of the development loops sufficiently. We had a few issues, for example, with shelf life, which led us to have to sort of modify the formulation. So perhaps we need to. If we could have perhaps learned a bit from that, allowed a bit of flexibility there. But actually, Innovate UK were great. The scheme's very flexible. We were allowed to, rescope the project a little bit. As I say, we didn't quite get to where we'd hoped to by the end of the project, but I think because our progress was always in the right direction, we were always going forward, getting positive results. Innovate UK were very supportive and it allowed us to sort of rescope the project a bit, reallocate some of our budgets and things like that. And in terms of the benefits, they were sort of huge. I don't think we'd be here today if we hadn't had the Innovate UK funding, for example. I think it gave Kairos the confidence to continue supporting the project. Again, their expertise is more in the orthopedics market, so the fact that this, we sort of got this endorsement from Innovate UK supported. This was a genuine flyer, this project. As I mentioned, it's very flexible in terms of allowing us to sort of rescope the project a bit, as some of the challenges and things came up. The continuity funding certainly helped us to get through COVID times in 2020, so that was extremely useful. And of course, having secured the Innovate funding, we were also able to then sort of leverage that and get additional funding. There are lots of other pots of money out there that we've been able to access. We got funding from NBIC, that's the National Biofilms Innovation Centre. We got some support from ERDF, BBSRC and EDGE, which again has been mentioned a few times in terms of helping us with some market data and a few other things. It opened the doors for presentation to VCs. For investment, that's clearly a big challenge for us going forward, and that's still ongoing. But that's looking positive. And as I mentioned, we were able to sort of get this independent lab test data, which has sort of got us in front of a lot of the big OEMs. And we're currently in discussion with a couple of the major wound care companies who extremely interested in our technology. So we have a plan. If our regulator is successful, we have a plan that we can actually take the product forward ourselves, or our preference is to sort of team up with an existing one of the major wound care companies and partner with them. So we'll see how things go, but that's where we're at. And I think that was my last slide. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, I think we've got a slight change. Laura, am I right in thinking we don't have Louis? Okay. So we're going to do some quick. Well, I'm going to invite Ali Gordon from Eat Out Roundabout to come up while I quickly skip forward the next slides because we're just missing a... You can slowly make your way across and get the microphone while I do this. Oh, here we are. Here's your slides. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's only one thing worse, I think, than looking at chronic wounds before lunch when you're all starving and been sitting here for a while. I'm going to talk about lovely food. So I'm going to share a little bit about my story because I think it's quite unique, and hopefully we can inspire more people to innovate from all walks of life. It's something that I've become really passionate about on this journey. So my journey really started with innovation in 2018, but I didn't know what the word was. And my local council, Wakefield Council, was having pains around how do we attract people in Wakefield to stay here, to spend in Wakefield. We're known for a culture around drinking, but we've got all these lovely food places. And to me, the dots started coming together, and I thought, well, what we can do is to encourage businesses to buy digital vouchers for their staff to eat out in Wakefield. And that would both drive footfall into Wakefield, encourage spend in the local economy, and also raise the profile of the local offering. So I thought that was a really good idea. A lot of people looked at me like I was as mad as a badger. And I thought, well, I went to the head of economic regeneration and I said, we're going to take Wakefield out for dinner. In fact, we're going to take the UK out for dinner. I thought it was such a good idea. And they looked at me. By January 2020, I'd managed to get a good range of restaurants, around 10 restaurants, on a makeshift mobile app when I look back. And I'd managed to convince a developer to help me get a QR code system to encourage people to eat out. And then, so yeah, we had the system, we had that, and then I started to get my first customers, so that was really exciting. So we've got fantastic companies like Production Park, OE Electric, some of the great and good at Wakefield to buy into the idea. And we just started getting people out of the door, starting to go into restaurants. It was all getting really exciting. And then, as we all know, something came along called a little pandemic, and it completely shifted everything. No restaurants, no businesses, there was nothing. Not only that, I hadn't built the business to be eligible for any support. So I came home and I thought, what am I going to do? I'd got 3 kids, so I was homeschooling the kids. And they needed their mum around a lot, basically. So I thought, years ago I did programming, and it all seems very complicated, but we've started to dabble in that. So I'm going to upskill myself. I'm going to learn those skills. And I calculated all the hours that I spent, and I spent 65 hours a week in that first pandemic around homeschooling, because I knew I wanted to create a solution that could help, because hospitality was now shut and the restaurants I was in contact with, they were, what's happening? What are we going to do? So I got really sort of passionate about the idea, and then I saw Innovate UK were looking for ideas to stimulate the economy, and I thought, I can do that. I've got an idea that I can do that. So I submitted 2 bids, and they weren't successful. And so then something marvellous happened. Rishi Sunak came up with this great idea that we could all eat out and help the economy. And I was like, yes, at last. 108 million people ate out in 1 month. And I thought, wow, I've had 10 pence for each of those that ate out. That would be a really good business. So on the back of the strength of the market changing and the message changing and the narrative, I was able to create a bid that matched the economy and what was happening in that moment. And what I would say is, a question is, how do you even create a bid? And my approach to it was just write one and see what they say. Write one, because you get the most tremendous feedback. And that feedback will tell you, is your idea a good one? Basically, because you get that from different people in innovation. So, fantastically, we won a SMART grant for 100,000, and we were able to build a prototype and trial it in Wakefield. So I was able to go back to my restaurants and say, come back on board, we're going to run this trial. Can we make Eat Out to Help Out sustainable but funded by the private sector? So they thankfully came on board. And then by the morning, it was a great idea. By the afternoon, COVID was on the increase, and it was the worst idea in the world for getting people to eat out. So I think one of the learning points was just really sticking to that idea, and even though you might have to pivot, is continuing through. So we won the award, and then we delivered the trial. So does everyone remember when it was freezing cold in May 2021? Was it when we all went out? I was there in my raincoat promoting for everyone to go and eat out. So we generated a 600% return on investment for the economy through our idea. So it was a really good platform. It was a good concept. It was a good idea. But the challenge we had was around commercialising it. So I set myself a challenge of how am I going to raise the investment to take this to the next level? And I was sort of going from pillar to post a bit to take that idea out there. And then what I did was I saw that Innovate UK were looking for national women in innovation with game-changing ideas. So I thought, well, I can be one of those. So I submitted an application for Women in Innovation, and I won that, which brought another 50,000. But I think the key thing is, this is our circular economy around dining, so it's bringing together hospitality, people and businesses together to stimulate the local economy. And just to say that in this time, the pivot has been immense because the economy has moved on so fast, so we've needed to adapt the business model. So yes, so the sequence of events, Eat Out to Help Out, SMART grant, it all looks very easy, doesn't it, on a timeline? So we did Eat Out Roundabout, 600% return on investment, and then I won the Innovate UK National Women in Innovation Award winner. And in this process, it's just shown me about equality and diversity, really, and how we can build that into our technology. So we've utilised that award to bring in dietary preferences, to track the demographics of the businesses that get involved with us. And it's also led on to further opportunities. So I think we've got Henry in here today. It's been brilliant support. Thank you, Henry. But Mayor Tracy Brabin has now backed the idea and made it free for businesses under 3 years. Because what we do quite uniquely is when you eat out in a local restaurant, when you eat at a restaurant that sources with local suppliers, it boosts your impact in the local economy and your score. So it also helps those restaurants to rank higher on the app. So we've got an incentive for restaurants to source with local suppliers. So the process that I've learned then, diversity really does matter. And I think when I saw innovation, I thought it looks really scary and scientific, and you need to be really, really well educated. And I've learned a lot on the journey, but I think for innovation and entrepreneurship to be really accessible, we've got to break down some of those barriers. So I think that's something that I'm really passionate about as going through this. Something else is, because I'm an entrepreneur, and I think about risk, I feel like you always have to sugarcoat it and say, this isn't risky, this is amazing. And the brilliant thing about innovation is risky is good, because if it wasn't a risk, you wouldn't need Innovate UK. So when you're thinking, oh, this is a risk, should I go for it? I would say absolutely, go for it. Just show how you've mitigated those risks. And then the feedback, I can't tell you, is just so invaluable from application to application, because you're not only getting feedback for your next submission, but you're getting lots and lots of feedback and input into the idea itself and how to shape it. So the opportunities have been absolutely immense through this journey. So I've built new networks through this. So What's lovely is I'm now, as part of the Women in Innovation Network, I'm not alone in this scary journey. It's amazing. The mentors through Innovate UK have been absolutely phenomenal. So I'm working alongside David Pritchard, who took Open Table from Silicon Valley across the UK and Europe. So I'm getting him to dump everything on me he knows. The other amazing mentor is Nick Burton, who's the Technology Director for Screwfix. So we're really analysing the customer journey, customer experience, and how we can integrate the app with the marketing to really create an amazing user journey. The new experience it's brought like this. I'm really nervous. So, it's just been brilliant to get out there and to share the story. And just be in new places. I was on a round table with Tracy Brabin. I'm meeting the CEO of NatWest next Friday. And it's all about breaking down barriers for women, which is amazing. And credibility, it's just been brilliant. Just to have the award and the backing from Innovate UK has been worth every bit. So, true to my word, I'm passionate about innovation. I've brought my network together that's helped me to be successful. And thank you to NatWest and West Yorkshire Combined Authority and Innovate UK. We're running innovation breakfast, lunch and supper, which has had to be moved because the Queen passed away, unfortunately. But we've now got that on Thursday, the 17th of November, so that would be lovely to see everybody there. And if you're ready for our amazing new business features, we've got them coming next week, but the app is free to download. You can get your first Eat Out voucher on the app, start impacting your local economy, get £10 off a £20 spend, and it's completely free to join. So if anyone would like to ask any questions, I'm downstairs all day, so would love to have a chat. So hopefully that wasn't too bad when you're so hungry. Okay.
Yeah, I feel particularly cruel saying that there's still one more speaker before we get to have lunch now. So, and particularly apologies to Ian, who's talking next in our last but not least. All right, Ian. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And as I have to be somewhere at 2 o'clock, I can assure you this won't be long. So I'm the CTO of Wayland Additive. A startup company formed in August 2019 in the Huddersfield area. Next slide, please. Does it work? I was told it wasn't going to work. Perfect. Oh, no. Sorry, yeah. I apologize. I didn't have some slides prepared, and then I was told I needed some. So these might not be quite along the vein we've heard, but I'll try and talk around it. So Wayland Additive, who are we? We are developing a new industrial metal additive manufacturing machine. More productive than the current systems on the market, can do a range of materials that current systems on the market can't do. System package price, 1 million each. We have about a 65% gross margin. The market is there. We haven't had to generate the market. We haven't had to question the market. At the moment, the global AM market for metal additive is around 15 billion. It's growing at 25% CAGR, and it's steadily disrupting the current market of traditional manufacturing, traditional high-value manufacturing. And that's an 84 billion market. So as we disrupt that, more of that's going to come in our direction. So it's a very big market. Why will we succeed? Well, why do we think we'll succeed? IP, we're an IP-rich company. It's very important to us. We now have 10 patent families, protecting globally. We have 4 more on the way. We do lots of freedom to operate searches, and when Rob spoke earlier on about not trying to, what would you say, go in competition with the big boys, actually we are. Our main competition is going to be General Electric. We've got our first orders, 2 orders. First machine shipped 2 weeks ago. The second machine is shipping next week. We have further orders expected by the end of December, and we have a pipeline now of around 52 million. That's global, worldwide. What do we offer? We're faster, cheaper to make parts, new materials that others can't make. And industry today looking at modern materials is really interesting. And lots of materials are coming online, but you actually need to be able to manufacture with them. They're no good if you can't produce something with them. And we offer that opportunity, which other systems can't do. We have a strong industry experience team. We started incubating the technology in a company we've already heard today, Reliance Precision, in May 2016 with 5 of us. No additive manufacturing knowledge whatsoever. But we brought technology from the semicon industry, and as Andrew also said, our innovation has been to look around. We knew our own skills, we found skills from other areas, we could bring those together to make something new and unique. We're going through another fundraising round now, 4 million this now-ish, and then hopefully we should be breaking even in 2023. And then we're going to be raising funds to grow. So that's the sort of where we are. Our objective is to achieve sales of 150 million by 2030. So we've got quite a long way to go. And I think it would be fair to say that our challenge now is not so much the technology, it's the execution. Next slide, please. Why use additive manufacturing? And for those that don't know about additive manufacturing, you can make radical new designs. Great reduction in part count, great reduction in lead time, great reduction in weight. You can do materials that you cannot manufacture in any other way, so high wear materials for mining, for instance, high temperature materials for aerospace, lightweight, super strong. It also gives you the chance to do a complete supply chain reorganization, so you don't potentially need to keep spares. You can generate spares where you need them, when you need them. And the spares industry in the world, particularly in things like mining, is massive. And adoption is being driven by lower cost of manufacture and new materials, and we offer both of these. So next slide, please. This is just an example. This is a gear cutter for an automotive prime. It's made out of a material that the people that make the material call it the world's hardest steel. I'm not going to go into that, whether it is or it isn't. But because it's the world's hardest steel, you can't shape it. But we can form it. So we can make the shapes that you need to then make the gear cutter that you can drive twice as fast as any other gear cutter, and you can make twice as much product. So that gear cutter would reduce production costs by about 40%. So that's the sort of business. Next slide, please. Our journey, AMPI, we are part of the AMPI consortium, and for AMPI we're looking at the implant industry. Quite a lot of implants are now made additively, and one of the key drivers of that industry is cost, 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 and because we're faster and quicker, we should be able to reduce those costs. Also, we're looking at the personalized implants as opposed to mass-produced implants, so for trauma patients or patients with serious degenerative bone diseases, that sort of area. We're working with companies. Our first customer is working with super hard steels for tooling, the tooling industry, in the mining industry. And then we're engaged with the aerospace people for lighter materials and the high temperature alloys. So we have a broad market that we're aiming for. Next slide, please. So that's our machine. And I think I've sort of mentioned everything about the machine at the moment. But I think it's fair to say that we've got where we are through Innovate UK funding. We've had six awards so far, plus Innovation Loan. And that has helped us because when you're a deep tech, pre-revenue, risky business, funding is very expensive. So we have to have Innovate UK. And we've worked with our local universities. We've worked with Huddersfield University very closely. Also worked with Sheffield University very closely, and we've hired from those universities as well. If we reach our target, our 2030 target, most of our machine is made in the UK. So the supply chain is all local. There's very little that's bought from abroad in our machine. Next slide, please. And the team is also important. You know, I'm a techie guy. Will Richardson, our CEO, also a techie guy. Young, lots of energy. I think I'm probably older than his father. But right at the beginning, we realized immediately we had to have sales and marketing. Before we even had a product, we needed sales and marketing. So we brought Peter Hansford on board. Great guy, great experience. But that gave us a brand, and we've got an identity. The rest of the world knows about us now. We're not just a little Huddersfield firm. the world knows about us. And that's because we brought Peter on board. It's essential. And the other key member of our team was Ian Golding, a non-exec director. And when you're starting this, as we've heard, it's a thing you've never done before. You don't know what you've got to do, and you don't know how to raise funding, etc. Ian is an entrepreneur. He's done it before. He's passionate. He was interested. He has done so much for us, so developing the business plan, all those sorts of things that you need to do. The experiences that we didn't have, we had to make sure we brought on board because we've basically done it internally as a team. Very important as a team. Next slide, please. So we are now 50 people, started August 2019 with 10, we're now 50, we're still growing, we're probably going to hire another 30 this year as we expand into manufacturing, production, service support, and we expand globally. That slide seems to have got a bit messed up apparently, never mind. But one thing I would say, when you're looking for people, we've heard today about the youth in this area. We're quite an old team in a way. You can see by myself. But every year we take on 2 year-in-industry students. These are pre-university. They've just done their A-levels. And they are superb. They work with us for a year. They gain a lot of experience. For us, they're very good value employees. And for them, they get a year in industry, which gives them foundation and understanding of what they need, of what their courses are going to be about and why their courses are of use. So I would suggest anybody takes on pre-university students for a year. They will learn a lot and you will get a lot. And the other thing we've heard is about the youth. I would also like to say, don't forget the old people. And I say that for a reason. Our oldest member of staff is 80. And I somehow have to get his knowledge into young people. But without him, some of our technology wouldn't exist. So everybody has a place to play. And we go from 80 down to 18, and there's people at every age group. And I think that helps as well. I think that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of our speakers, and thank you all for your patience. I know the sessions run slightly over there, so really appreciate that. So you'll be really pleased to hear that we now get to have lunch. Yay! We're going to be back, restarting at 2 o'clock. So we're now breaking out into sort of parallel sessions and more workshop content. In here, we're going to have a session on Innovate UK KTN and the regional innovation support for West Yorkshire. In the room next door, we've got a session on space innovation, which is going to have Mandy and also Emma from the Satellite Applications Catapult. And then there's lots more going on throughout the afternoon. So we've got health innovation, the Women in Innovation session, some sessions on private funding, a session on knowledge transfer partnerships. We've got an Edge one-to-one clinic that you can sign up for, and also hearing more about the West Yorkshire Combined Authority Connecting Innovation programme. So there's lots and lots and lots more still to come. So get yourself refueled, get back down to see the exhibitors, speak to the speakers that we ask all your questions, and yeah, I'll see you all at 2 o'clock. Thank you so much.